somewhere in there I know I'm not supposed to do something, but what's the reason?
Exactly.
I forgot.
You know.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not going to like grill you on things, and it's not a multiple choice test. And if you get it wrong, then you're fired.
I'm not making enough here anyway, so you could fire me.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna have a good time. Well, I'm already a few chapters into this. I love the title. So, who the fuck says we have tomorrow? How I Made Cancer My Bitch. And it's a fun title. Like, just seeing it, I'm like, all right, I want to pick this up. So yeah, I'm a few chapters in, and you're talking about the event.
Yes.
I have my favorite parts about it.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember. Well, I want to hear from you first. Like, what is getting to the hospital? Like, what was the most memorable part of that?
Well, obviously, when they strapped me in that chair and took me down those stairs, I mean, which was atrocious. I closed my eyes the whole way, but getting in the chair was really bad because if you recall, I wouldn't let anybody touch me.
Yeah.
I mean, you would touch my shoulder. I felt it running all through me, but especially in my back. It was, later we found out I had a pinched nerve in there. That's what was causing all that pain. Which luckily, I'm very lucky that somehow that disengaged through the healing process. Like it could have stayed there wherever it was, and it didn't. So I was very lucky with that. But as far as getting to the hospital, yeah, I remember the first time the EMTs came over. First of all, I remember I didn't want to go to the hospital. For whatever weird reason, after 3 days sitting up in a chair at the dining room, your poor sister having to deal with me. And
shout out to Alex
for
that one.
Thank you, Alex. I still thought I would be better in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't ask why. It must have been all the drugs. I mean, you remember someone I knew was able to get me pain pills from a doctor. Well, Alex had to go meet with the doctor. They knew I couldn't move. He gave me enough for 2 or 3 days, saying, you must come to my office before I give you any more after that. So it was a choice of either leaving the house, having to go to this doctor's office, or going to the hospital. But I remember when the EMTs first came, I think, what did I say to them? I said, they said, well, if you don't, you must answer these questions properly. Otherwise, we can't take you. And I said something like, I'm the Queen of England and Nixon is president and I'm not going to the hospital today. So, of course, they left.
I remember they go, who's the current president of the United States? And you go, not my president.
Oh, yes, that's true. I forgot that.
Like, Mom, will you please let them take you to the hospital? That was
and then so I remember that, and then I felt kind of bad about it, because I knew something was really wrong. I think I just didn't want to know. By then I suspected through fuckery, because who the hell breaks 8 vertebrae just from sitting up from a couch? Something was going on.
Yeah.
And
did you know at the time it was broken?
I didn't know, like, there was no diagnosis of it, but obviously something was wrong, very, very, very wrong,
Yeah.
And actually sitting up in that chair for 3 days, I mean, they told me later that created a lot more damage, because you can't do that. Maybe it has something to do with why I lost like 2.5 inches in height.
The compression,
yeah.
Just sitting there. I was flabbergasted when Alex told me she was done. She was like,
oh yeah, she was done. I mean, I think she called you after, and this might be disgusting to some people, I don't know, but I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom anymore. She had been helping me do that, so I would just do everything I could, like to stand up from the chair, and she put a bowl between my legs so I could pee in it. And so now she was done,
Yeah.
It's like she finally called you. We were trying not to call you, until you came back from your vacation.
Yeah. Well, it was a fun vacation, but I wish you guys had called me. But it's fine. I mean, it worked out. It kind of all worked out in the end. But I remember because the first time the paramedics came, we couldn't get you in the ambulance, and for me and Alex, it was extremely frustrating because
I can imagine.
trying to get you help and you refusing help, and we're like, you can't sit in this chair the rest of your life. Like, we got to do something. And so you had already from the doctor, you had a fentanyl patch on your arm. You had opioids out the ass in your system.
I was so high.
And you still...
No, it didn't touch a pain.
No, because that's it. You were so in this massive fight or flight panic.
Yeah.
Like I'd never seen in a person. But you were so terrified that anyone would breathe or touch you. Yeah, I came up and I remember you were sitting in the chair across from the dining room table, and I walk in and you're like, don't touch the table, don't touch the table. Like, I'm not even touching, and you're not even connected to the table in any way, but somehow me touching the table was going to freak you out.
Well, the pillows that I had on it,
It was cracking me up. But Alex and I, and this is what I laughed so hard at this part in the book, because we conspired. We did go out on the patio, and we were like, we got to get her really fucked up, and we're just going to get her like high as a kite. And so we're tag teaming on both sides here. And so her and I are looking at each other laughing, and I've got the tincture. I've got this like CBD tincture. She's got some other stuff and everything, and you're like, and you're kind of out of it, but you're still on high alert too. And so you're looking at her, and I'm coming around with the dropper, and you're like, Alex, what are you doing? And I'd come in, like, squirt some stuff in your mouth, and you're like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, don't worry, it's just, helping you out. And you're like, didn't I already take some? I'm like, no, you haven't had any yet.
I thought you were giving me THC. You said both CBD,
it was
THC.
A bunch of different stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
For anyone listening, it was like life and death at this point. So I felt like whatever I give you is needed.
Can't be any worse than what I've already had.
It was needed to get you just so toasted so that when they show up the paramedics showed up the next time, you didn't put up a fight, because it was obvious like something really was wrong. But
oh yeah,
I just remember we both kept like squirting things in your mouth and getting you like all kinds of stuff to relax you. And so when they showed up the next time, I remember they had the fire chief, I guess that's the title. The fire chief showed up. He, they had the little cool pickup truck. They don't, have a fire engine or an ambulance. They just show up in their pickup truck. So like 5 vehicles showed up though.
Oh my gosh.
It was like the ambulance, the fire truck, the fire chief, and like a couple other vehicles. I don't know, but you remember the little driveway down there.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing was flooded with light. I mean, you just see red and blue and white light and stuff. But they finally got you down.
I wonder what the neighbors thought.
I know, right? Somebody died.
But, I think that whole system, I mean, I understand they had the issue, with getting down those stairs. That's why they couldn't put me on a gurney.
Yeah.
So they had to put me in that chair. And, of course, I wouldn't let them do it. So I'm getting in there, and it's awful. I mean, that thought, I think they carried me above their heads, right? Because it was such a tight staircase.
Yeah.
And
well,
that was freaky. I literally I closed my eyes the whole time, but I could feel that I was like high up in the air. And
so you were screaming the whole time.
Oh, it was so painful.
And yeah, I understand. But for me and Alex, we couldn't. It was like
hard to hear.
We didn't know how to handle it. Like we didn't know how to see our mom in such pain, and it was like this really, devastating moment for us to watch this. And so I actually walked away. I didn't watch them take you down the stairs, so I didn't actually witness it visually what was going on. But I heard you screaming and stuff. I was like, I just can't watch this anymore because you're in such pain. And I'm like, you're in their hands. Like I can't. There's nothing more for me to do anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't need to watch this. Like.
Oh, you missed
moment.
the part when I was down. Once they got me downstairs, I had to move to a gurney.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to move again. So they put me in there. I'm in the ambulance, and they're driving down the street to take me to St. Rose. And, I thought the guy was really speeding. It was every little bump. It went through me like somebody hit me with a cattle prod,
Yeah.
And I remember at one time screaming saying it loud. I wanted the driver to hear me. I said, slow down, please. Every bump hurts so much. And he goes, ma'am, I'm driving about 5 miles an hour and less when we go over the bumps. It was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get to the hospital, and they have to, once again, I have to change. They want, they put me, I have to go from the gurney to the emergency room bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and then they tried to get me to change again to another gurney to go from there to upstairs in a hospital room because I'd been admitted by then.
You mean from the ER bed to
Yeah, they
another
wanted
bed?
me to move from the ER bed to a gurney they could take upstairs, and at that point I would have to move from the gurney to the hospital bed. I refuse. I said, that's it. I'm not moving anymore.
Yeah.
And so they ended up taking me upstairs in the emergency room bed and leaving me in it, like took the nurses 3 days to talk me into moving from that to the bed. They said, you're going to be so much more comfortable, in a hospital bed and blah, blah, blah. And by then I was so high, like, high as a kite, as Elton John would say. And so somehow I actually they just like slid me across on a sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more comfortable. So, but man, that was a heck of a journey.
For those that are listening that don't know, like, let's fast forward a bit and we can come back. But
Yeah.
what is it that caused the whole events that we're talking about now? Like you go into the hospital.
Multiple myeloma. It's a cancer of the incurable cancer of the plasma cells in the bone marrow. And what it does is it eats your bones from the inside out until they break. And when I was diagnosed, they told me that I was at stage 3.5. There's no stage 4, and that I would have 3 to 5 years to live. So as you know, right now I'm celebrating the fact that I'm alive 5 years later.
Yeah.
Another month and it'll be 5 years.
Well, that's what we're doing. I mean, we're
Yeah.
celebrating you've lived past this death sentence they basically
I know.
gave you.
I flew right by my dead by date.
Dead by date. It's weird that they do a 3.5. Like what?
Yeah, that's
Just
weird.
call
Well,
it a
because
4.
it was above. No, apparently. Well, I don't know how they measure exactly, but I remember that doctor telling me that.
Yeah.
And I was so out of it too. He's telling me that I thought like some alien was, like I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I never heard of multiple myeloma.
Yeah.
I asked him what that is, and then he told me, and I said, well, so what happens? And in my part of me in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I just have to take a pill for a while. How wrong I was. He said, oh, no, and I had to push him, and say, well, what's the prognosis? What will happen? What's next? And he says, well, that's when he finally reluctantly told me, that people in my condition usually live for about 3 to 5 years, but he didn't know anything about it. I'll bet you he'd never come across a patient with that because it's not really true. I mean, in some cases it could be. It depends how the patient responds to drug, I suppose. Some people do die in 3 to 5 years, but all they do is the traditional drugs. The mindset affects everything. I mean, if you believe what a doctor tells you, you'll be dead in 3 to 5 years, then you'll be dead in 3 to 5 years.
Right.
The mind is very powerful, the power of suggestion of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
So I, at some point, decided not to believe it.
This was the oncologist saying that? Like the first
No, this
guy?
was it was when I was at St. Rose, the very first St. Rose hospital I was in, where they diagnosed me. And
wasn't that guy the oncologist though? I remember.
I don't know. Maybe he was. You're right. Well, no, he could. I don't think he could have been, because he wouldn't have said that if he was up on multiple myeloma stuff.
Yeah.
I guess he was telling me a worst case scenario. He didn't know how I would react to stuff either, and he didn't want to sugarcoat it, I imagine.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. But also, another way I got really lucky is that since then, there's been so many new drugs to manage, multiple myeloma.
Yeah.
The one thing I resent, knowing what I know now 5 years later, is that so the pharmaceutical companies invent these drugs, right? And when they do the trials and after the trials, when the FDA approves them, I'm not sure, but I think that the pharmaceutical companies might be the ones that do this. So they'll take a drug and they'll say, okay, you can have this after you've had, like, say, 2 or 3 failed cycles, like a certain drug, maybe it worked for a little bit or it didn't work on you at all, then they move you to the next one and the next one. Now, the ones later on, so, I had like 3 failed courses of drugs that didn't work for very long or didn't work at all on me. And it's only after that you get to the really good drug. But the pharmaceutical companies don't want, actually, the FDA to approve those as a first, there's a term for it, like as a first line of defense against it, because they want to make money selling those other drugs that they spend a lot of money developing that people are already on as a first, second, and third line. So any brand new drug, no matter how good it is, goes to the back of the line, and you don't get it till everything else has failed.
Yeah.
And, the last drug that I was on, it's called Kyprolis. I think the generic name is carfilzomib or something like that. That, in combination with THC and CBD, is the very best thing right now that we know of that you can take for multiple myeloma.
And are traditional, like conventional doctors in agreement with that? Because THC being...
They don't ever mention it. This I had to find out on my own, but there's you can look it up on a lot of even our government's website, like the NHI.something.gov website, where they have a lot of medical information.
NIH, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, NIH. Sorry.
National Institute of Health.
Yeah. And there's been many studies done on it, actually, but I had to find out on my own. Like the alternative side of the fence will tell you this, but traditional doctors, they can't. They would lose their medical licenses, unfortunately, if they ever touch that. You know?
That's the crazy thing to me is like there's stuff out there that's absolutely useful in terms of medical application.
Yep.
And that's what I like. I haven't gotten that far into the book yet, but I know that's what this is all about, is like you're talking about these alternative methods that you found. So you're in the hospital, you've got this crazy cancer diagnosis, you're finding out all these conventional means that they're trying to tell you to do, and then what began that journey of you looking into alternative methods versus like listening to what the doctors were telling you to do?
Well, as you know, I've always been a big advocate of doing anything alternative, like, the gentlest thing first, no matter what I'm dealing with. So if you recall, that's all I wanted to do. I was never going to do chemo. And you might not be at that part yet, but I do talk about that in the book. I was never going to do chemo. No effing way was that poison going in my veins. But then, I started looking into the alternatives and stuff. There's a lot of clinics that will do only alternative treatments. Not here in the States. You can't do it here, but a lot of them are in Mexico, Thailand, somewhere in Europe too. I've forgotten which country, but they really gouge. Bottom line, the clinic I was looking at, which was supposedly the most reputable one, I checked them out very carefully, I spent like days looking this up, checking it all out. I even talked to a patient who had gone over there, who was a big, fan of theirs. And it would have cost $50,000 for my first 2 weeks there. No, it was 60 because they had to add an additional treatment of some sort. And that was just for 2 weeks. And they wanted me to stay there for 3 weeks. And then I would have to buy a bunch of drugs that cost thousands of dollars once I came home.
Yeah.
And I thought, that is total insanity. There's no need. It shouldn't have to cost that much. But I feel that they're gouging people who are in desperate need of help, and then I started reading about the chemo and everything, so I spent days on that. That was the next step, and then I came to a conclusion. Really my choices were to either not put what I considered that poison in my veins and die, or do it and stay alive and figure my way out of it at some point. But it was urgent because how advanced the disease was. So, and even then, I broke my back at the end of March and I didn't start treatment till July.
Of 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, It was hard though to do it. I mean, it was a long road for me to change my mindset.
Yeah.
I remember walking into the first time I went to the oncologist, like to the infusion room. I mean, I was still wearing the full back brace and walking with a walker. And, my girlfriend Joanne had come with me. And I remember stopping at the door to that room. And there's looks like to me like 75 people, hooked up to infusion machines. And I was literally stopped, and the vibe in there. Oh my God, the vibe.
It's a low energy vibe for sure.
Incredible. Like very
Yeah.
depressed,
Mm-hmm.
anxious.
You can almost see, like, I'm not a one that's like fully into the I can see the color of your aura. I'm not really into that, but you walk in there and you can almost see just the darkness.
Yes.
It's a very potent, powerful vibe, so strong that I felt like I could almost see it. It's sad. It's a really sad thing the way they have it, because they line you up and just feels like a bunch of cattle getting injected with shit. I don't know. It's a weird thing for sure to see.
It is. And I stopped there and I literally almost turned around and left. And I think Joanne had something to do with me saying, she goes, well, I got you all dressed and took you down here and you need this. So let's go in and do it. It's like,
you made her sound like an actress from the 1940s in Chicago.
Well, that's Joanne,
Listen here, come on, I'm a real bossy gal, and I'm going to tell you how it is. See?
Yeah. So, I did it, and then things started to be better. But always, I was always researching all the alternative stuff and what else I could do. And my main thing was to not end up like those people in there. I didn't want to be the depressed one, filled with anxiety and thinking that I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So, I would always make an effort. Even when I was still in the back brace and the walker, I thought, well, I got to go in there with a better mindset. I have to feel good about myself. So I would put makeup on and, put on a nice top or whatever I was able to manage in my condition. And from then on, whenever I've gone into an infusion room, I get dressed up. I wear now, once my back was okay and everything, especially once I was here in Dallas and, the treatment started to work and I was doing all the alternatives and I felt energetic. I wear heels and, a nice top and nice jewelry and makeup. Yeah. I walk in there and people literally look at me like, what is she doing here?
Right. She doesn't have cancer. She's dressed up.
Yeah. And she's smiling. What's wrong with her?
Yeah.
She's Looney Tunes. Yeah.
Well, that power of mindset is big.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Emotional, emotional state is humongous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how a person can be going through the same thing as another, but they both have a different outcome in terms of experience, how they feel about it, what they're thinking, thought processes. And I remember watching you that the first few months were pretty dark for everyone, for the family, for you. And it was just because I remember the doctor, if we can rewind a little bit, I remember one of the hospitals, I don't think it was St. Rose, it was one of the other next ones that we went to, but...
The rehab?
No, it wasn't the rehab, but
I was in 2 St. Rose and then the rehab.
Anyway, I talked to a doctor sometime in that process, and I was asking, how serious is this? What are we needing to do? And he's like, you should get her affairs in order.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit. Okay, we're talking real stuff here. We're not talking just some, thing that she'll be okay here in a couple weeks or something. It was having someone tell me to get my mother's affairs in order was oh shit, I gotta grow up fast.
Can imagine.
Yeah, this is, oh fuck, life is real now. This is it. It was it was a real gut punch for sure.
I remember we redid my living trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, why I brought that up though is because now you're going through those first few months. I guess I didn't know it was from March till July, but treatment hadn't started yet. That was a dark time. But then it was as time went on, you started looking into alternatives. You started becoming more proactive in your health, and that became like your new passion project, your new hobby. Was like taking care of yourself. And so I've seen other people, I think we've all seen other people like that have been enduring and going through cancer, and the mindset is this negative one, like, okay, well, I'm taking these fluids and they're keeping me alive, but I'll be dead soon.
Yeah.
That seems to be the vibe that I pick up from people that have cancer. And for you were in this like different gear. Like this other gear kicked in, and yeah, you're getting dressed up to go to your chemo treatments, and you're reading books. And I remember reading a book because you were talking about doing THC treatments, and I remember reading on cannabinoids and how which cannabinoids specifically would be of benefit to you or to people that people with cancer. And yeah, it just became this thing like, all right, we're going to see what else we can do, because it's not just chemo. There's more to it.
Well, I think I got, oh, sorry. Sorry. I shouldn't
right.
do that in the mic, huh?
No, that's not a good idea.
No. Sorry, everyone. If you recall, it was like, I think about 8 or 9 months after the diagnosis is when I found out that it did not have to be a death sentence.
Mm.
I remember calling you and telling you, and you're like, well, what do you mean? You know, and because I talked to Dr. Sanchez, who was my doctor in Vegas, and he said he had a patient who had it 20 years before. He did a stem cell transplant, which must have been barbaric back then. And because they're still pretty bad now, very invasive, you know, and dangerous, and you don't know what's going to happen. So he told me that his patient had done that, and he had not been on any kind of drug or chemo, and he was a workaholic, and he just lived his life normally, came and checked in once a year. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You know, so the doctor in the hospital told me I'd be dead in 3 to 5 years. And Dr. Sanchez looked at me and says, do you want to be? I said, no. He goes, well, then you're not going to be.
Wow, that's cool.
He was a cool doctor.
Yeah, I met him a few times. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. And
what
turned me around.
What clinic is he with? What organization is that?
I forgot what the name of his clinic is. It's him and a few other doctors.
Let's pull him up. Because he really was a cool dude. He was with you for a while. Dr. Sanchez, Las Vegas, Nevada Oncology, Las Vegas Oncology?
No, I think it was maybe comprehensive cancer.
Oncology.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's him.
That's him, yeah.
James Sanchez.
Dr. James Sanchez. Let's see what's the organization he's with? Mountain View Hospital?
No, that's that's the hospital. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. He has his own clinic.
What's going on?
He's
That's
affiliated with that.
You got to talk into the mic there.
He's affiliated with that hospital, but he has his own clinic, which I believe is Comprehensive Cancer Center.
There it is on the far right. Comprehensive.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, cool. We just wanted to make sure he gets the right
Yeah.
Shout out there. So Comprehensive Cancer Centers, Dr. James Sanchez, meet the team, and it's in a whole list of people.
They were more open too when I
Maybe
started.
Maybe he moved. I don't see his name on there anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I think he's at Mountain View Hospital now.
No, I know he was affiliated with that. But
well, it said meet the team, and he's not on that list.
Huh, interesting.
The last link we were at, yeah, he's at Mountain View Hospital now.
Well, typically an oncologist is affiliated with certain hospitals, but they don't work from there all the time. I mean, they have their own clinic as well.
Well, Dr. Sanchez, wherever you are today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
They were more open, too, when I started to talk about alternative stuff. And
he was cool with THC and stuff?
Did I bring that up with him? I can't remember, but if I had, I know he would have been okay about it.
Not that he was prescribing it. Let's be clear.
No, well, he was in Nevada. In Nevada, it was legal. Right, so, but he wouldn't have been allowed to.
No, he still can't prescribe it, though. But we're just clarifying that for anyone listening. Like, you were doing it on your own volition and telling him.
Yes,
but what were his thoughts when you told him you're doing alternative stuff?
He was okay with it. Like, he said if you're going to take any kind of drug or strong supplements, or he says just give us the list so that we make sure that there's no what do you call that when two drugs
Side effects?
Yeah, no, when two drugs don't combine well.
A
You
bad
know.
date? I don't know.
I mean, like, so you take
Side
one
effects,
drug
right?
and then you take another one, and then something bad happens because they don't combine well.
Huh.
So he just wanted to make sure that it didn't affect my treatment that I was getting from him, which at the time was chemo.
Yeah.
I hadn't graduated to the better drugs, which are like, autoimmune drugs, which is so stupid. If you got those drugs at the beginning, people would heal a lot faster. But the pharmaceutical companies, they want their big bucks for having created the first drug. So they put you on that, and you're dealing with insurance companies. So you're SOL.
What? So let's visit on that about the drugs, because what is it? You're sure that it's the pharmaceutical company guiding this, because they're the ones that are just selling this to the practices. So is it the insurance company that's saying, let's go with this cheaper drug first, and that if it fixes you, then now we've saved money?
No, I don't think they're necessarily cheaper. But what happens, so let's say you're a pharmacist. That's what I've thought. I haven't looked this up. I haven't confirmed this, but it makes sense. I mean, it's logical. And, there's a reason why they put you on those other drugs before they put you on the really good drug. And the only reason I could come up with is that, the pharmaceutical company developed the first line of defense cancer, multiple myeloma drug.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to make a certain amount of money back to pay back all the research and everything they did. And they need to sell a truckload of them, to make a profit so their investors are happy. If you start taking the better drug that you don't get now till the third or fourth line of defense, if everybody did that, nobody would take this one and they wouldn't make their investment back.
But aren't those first line of defense drugs, the cheaper drugs or whatever, the ones they're prescribing first, aren't those older, and now the better ones that work better are newer?
Yes.
So that's why that's going on like that?
Yeah, and I don't think cost is involved, because some of the newer drugs might cost less. I mean, I remember one drug they had me on was $17,000 a month.
Jeez.
And the one that I like, the Kyprolis one, I think is only about $13,000. So you see what I'm saying? They were still selling that first one because they needed to make all their money back and the profit they planned on making from it.
You were responding well to Kyprolis. That was
that was the best one. But I couldn't get that until I'd failed at three other drugs, three other combinations. I mean, they give you combinations of which I refuse. Essentially, you have to really take hold of your care, and you have to be an advocate for yourself or have an advocate with you, and you have to be really strong. I mean, that night that I almost died because they were giving me such a high dosage of the Kyprolis. It's a great drug, but my system doesn't need as much as some other person. They were giving me that and another drug. And I remember you were out of town working, and I spent the worst 24 hours of my life. I mean, I talk about it in the book, in the chapter where I said, I decide, I realized so many things after I started to be better, but I remember being in such bad shape. My stomach I looked like I was 9 months pregnant because all this crap, like all the drug, I mean, my system was trying to handle it, to get rid of it. My back hurt. I think my liver was probably swelled up, and just a splitting headache and nausea. I couldn't even reach over to the night table and grab my phone to call anybody. That's how bad things were. And I just stayed there for hours and hours. And a couple of times I actually I had to go to the bathroom. And I remember crawling along the wall, like holding the wall as I walked to get there and come back. And by the next, I didn't sleep. But by the next morning or early afternoon, things started to get better. I mean, I guess it was processing. My body was figured out a way to handle it. But I thought I was going to die. And I actually welcomed it. I swear, I felt death in the room. And I remember thinking of it as a she. you know. And I remember in my head, I was saying, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And she pulled back.
Death
I
is
felt that.
Death is a lady dressed in black.
I don't know. It was an energy. I didn't think
Yeah.
of a way that she was dressed, but I felt like it was a feminine energy. And
Was it because you're female?
it might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
yeah. And then as soon as I said that, I felt the pullback of that energy. Like it was like, no, I don't think I'm taking you yet. You know, and then I
Whoa.
started to think, I went over like everything that I was doing, you know, because by then I was doing alternatives too. And I had started to work on emotional healing, and I was meditating, doing quantum meditations with Dr. Joe Dispenza. But I was all over the place. It was still chaos. I hadn't taken a hold of it. It was like I was throwing shit up against the wall to see what would stick.
Yeah.
You know, there was no real, and I didn't have a naturopath oncologist yet. So after that night, I became determined that I was going to fucking fix this thing, you know, or leave the planet. And so I hired a naturopath. You know, I said, I got to take, you know, find from a professional what the best thing is to do with all these alternatives, because I was trying this for a while and trying that, you know, based on articles I'd read and research I'd read. So I went to the naturopath oncologist, and she set me straight. We did all kinds of other tests that, you know, health insurance won't pay for. And based on that, she prescribed like a ton of supplements, you know, whatever my body was missing.
Yeah.
Those supplements replaced. You know, so between that and then I took the meditations more seriously. Like I was doing them, but a part of me didn't really believe it would work. I realized that night too, you know. And so I was determined that, first of all, I wouldn't let the doctor, the traditional oncologist, push me around anymore. They were insisting on giving me this higher dose. And I went to her and said, you know what? Either the dose is lowered, because obviously my body can't handle that dose. And we only take the Kyprolis, not this other drug. You also, you know, they had me on the second chemo drug.
Yeah.
And I said, either we lower the Kyprolis and I don't take that second drug anymore. I'm going to walk out of here and take my chances with just the alternatives. And she was all like flustered, you know, and she clackety-clack on the keyboard and doing a few things. And finally she says, okay, we'll lower the Kyprolis by 20%, and, you know, you won't do the second drug anymore. So I agreed to that, and things started to turn around. You know, between that and all the supplements I was doing to boost up my immune system. Because really all those alternatives, like when it comes to supplements and such, what they're doing, they're not curing whatever you have. Although some of them, like if you take curcumin, that's been known, there's been studies done that it actually kills multiple myeloma cells. It weakens them a lot.
Can you pull
and
that
then
up,
the
John,
chemo
while we're talking?
kills them.
Curcumin killing multiple myeloma?
Yeah. Well, the way that it's doing it is it weakens the cells. So then when the chemo hits them, they're a lot less resistant to it.
Well, you touched on something, and just wave at me when you find anything on it, but you said something interesting a second ago, like the alternatives themselves don't cure it, and I think that's maybe important for people to understand.
Well, it boosts your immune system in such a way that then your immune system takes care of it. Now, some do, like the curcumin, it actually weakens the multiple myeloma cells, and then when, like I said, the chemo hits it, they die. But most of that stuff that I've been taking, that I still take, it's all about boosting up my immune system.
What you had a bad response to curcumin, didn't you? Didn't you have some?
I thought it was giving me a hand rash, but it was that was like 3 years ago. I think that it was actually whatever chemo drug I was on at the time that was causing it, because I take curcumin now, like really high dose curcumin every day, and I don't have that rash.
What's a dose level that you're taking in curcumin?
Oh my God, I'd have to look at the bottle, but I'm taking, like the bottle says take 4 caplets per day, and I take 9.
Okay.
So I think it's about 8,000 milligrams altogether.
Altogether.
Yeah, I think so.
So more than double what the bottle says.
Yeah, like somebody like you would be fine with just the 4 gel caps probably, but we're trying to do more with my body.
I find that interesting because I want to unpack this. It may take a minute for us to do that, but you have systems where insurance companies only approve certain treatments. The doctors insist on this standardized level of treatment, and you had to fight with, literally get in an argument with your doctor to reduce the dosage levels. You get a vitamin bottle that tells you take this many vitamins per day. Like I was looking at my, I even talked to my doctor about this. I had him on a couple weeks ago. But the vitamin D. So I did the lab results. My vitamin D was a little low, and so the bottle says just take like, I don't know, 3 or 4 drops a day, and each drop is 1,000 IU, I think. I don't know the numbers. But then I was talking to him and talking to other people, and I'm taking 10 drops a day now because it's...
You were that low.
Well, it wasn't that low. It was my numbers were just a little bit lower, but people that I've talked to are like, well, to actually see a tangible results, like in a reasonable amount of time, you have to
up that,
get after it. Yeah. So it's like the supplement is I think the dosage levels are meant for like a maintenance dose, not for like a catch you up because you're deficient dose.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing where there's standardized dosage levels that our doctors are prescribing because you said clickety clack, the computer's telling them what to do. The insurance companies say what to do, the dosage levels on these vitamin bottles. So it's interesting to hear like that mindset. Like it's not only are you taking an alternative thing where you're taking curcumin, but you're also doubling more than doubling the dose. So how did you come across feeling comfortable with breaking protocol from like what these recommendations were on these bottles and what the doctors are telling you to do? Like how did you get comfortable with kind of breaking these recommended instructions?
Well, I decided I trusted my naturopath oncologist, and she prescribed that amount. She said that that's the amount that really worked, that made a difference.
Yeah. Did you get anything there, John?
It's from the NIH.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. I didn't mean to break off topic, but okay, so use of curcumin. This is the National Institute of Health.gov. Use of curcumin in multiple myeloma patients intolerant of steroid therapy. And the steroid is dexamethasone, right?
Yeah, and it's awful.
Yeah, well, I've seen you on it. Yeah, you can get pretty goofy sometimes. Go back up just a little bit right there, the abstract. So, yeah, you'll get kind of goofy on dexamethasone.
Well, the reason for the dexamethasone is that it does that same thing as curcumin. It weakens the multiple myeloma cells, and then the chemo kills it better.
Yeah,
that's why they give it to you. Like if you're on it at the doctor, they infuse you with 20 milligrams of it, which is a ridiculous dose. That was another thing I had to completely lower. The naturopath oncologist told me you need to get off that shit ASAP. You know, we have to wean you off of it. So we did. I mean, they were giving me 20 milligrams. I was all messed up for like 3 days after, and longer. And in the end, I was taking. It was either 2 or 4 milligrams, and I felt fine, especially because of the Kyprolis was a lot lower, and I was doing a curcumin, so I don't know how it would work if I had not been also taking the curcumin.
Yeah. Is this on the picture-in-picture sizes? Is it?
Yeah, I remember this article. I've read it.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm asking John. So on the picture-in-picture, is it the normal window size? People can see it. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to deviate, guys. Just want to make sure people that are watching can see. But we're reading this article, National Institute of Health abstract. Curcumin, when used in a combination regimen in multiple myeloma patients, has comparable progression-free survival without the adverse effects of steroid-based combination therapies. That is, curcumin may be a viable alternative to corticosteroids in combination with an
modulatory.
Ooh, that's a great word. In combination with an immunomodulatory drug or proteasome inhibitor. So it's mainly just saying that hey, instead of dexamethasone or something like that, you can supplement curcumin.
But see, that night when I wanted to die, I had I wanted to see what it would be like if I did not take any Dex at all. So I had gone and gotten treatment with just curcumin, but I was on such a high dose of Kyprolis and then that other chemo drug that the curcumin just could not, it wasn't enough to control the side effect of that high dosage of 2 drugs.
Wow.
So
what is it? What is it happening then? What is the purpose in your experience of having the steroid or the curcumin in combination with the
chemo?
The chemo, yeah.
Well, they say that it handles the side effect and exactly on top. So it makes the multiple myeloma cell weaker, and then it controls the side effects. And that night I certainly found out that it's true that it does that. But that's because and the dose, my chemo dosage was way too high for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it would help a lot. I didn't notice it until that night when, I didn't take the Dex with treatment. And then I saw the reaction of my body. And so I think it handles nausea. It does a bunch. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it definitely worked on the side effects because from not taking it, I saw what happens to you.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized and plus the dosage was high. I think they had to rate, because when they first start you on a chemo drug, they slowly make it, the dosage higher and higher until they get to that point where, whatever the standard amount should be. They don't give you the full dosage right away. You have 2, 3, 4 treatments first.
Sure.
So they had upped my dose of the Kyprolis, I think, too, on that treatment. So between that and not taking the Dex, I was in super bad shape. And but once I got the dosage down, that worked for me, and it worked perfectly. I didn't need that. Whatever that higher dosage was, because it went completely away on the smaller dosage.
Mm-hmm.
But once I was on the smaller dosage, 4 milligrams or 2 milligrams of Dex was enough to control the side effects along with the curcumin. So.
Yeah, it's amazing to see what a difference a natural supplement will make in reducing your dependency or your need for this steroid, because isn't long-term use of steroids bad?
Very bad. There's so many bad side effects. I don't even know. I can't remember them all. Maybe we could look them up.
Let's do side effects of dexamethasone.
Yeah. It's just awful. Like, it does a lot. It creates a lot of chaos in the body. But what I don't want anybody to think. What was that?
Yeah.
Aggression, agitation. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at side effects of dexamethasone: aggression, agitation, anxiety, decrease in the amount of urine. Okay. Fast, slow pounding or irregular heartbeat, headache, mental depression, mood changes. There's more too, like on a physical level. Yeah. Well, there's a whole list here. It's crazy. Noisy, rattling breathing. It sounds like a loose muffler or something. It's a weird side effect. I have noticed.
I can't even read that.
Yeah, it kind of makes you feel weird.
It did all that to me.
There's a whole bunch of others down there. Decreased vision, diarrhea, eye pain. There's all kinds of shit.
Yep.
Facial hair growth in females. Did you experience that?
I don't think so.
I never noticed that.
Oh.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is that you get just made. I think those are bad side effects, right? But like good in terms of good things, I have noticed that you get more energy.
Yeah, you do. Well, it hypes you up. I mean, I remember cleaning the kitchen at 4 a.m. It's like, it's fucking crazy. I had the chemo drug. I should be resting, let my body rest. But
yeah.
So my body wants to rest, but the Dex, like in my head, I'm like, I can't stop doing stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I feel exhausted and I know I should lie down, and I can't.
Yeah. Well, it's basically speed. I mean, that's
it is. It's like being on speed.
You're describing a meth addict or
yeah,
something.
I remember a while, like I was in my very early 20s. I think I had come back from Amsterdam by then. So I had a roommate in New York, And she was always taking black beauties, which is essentially speed and stuff. And she says whenever, I mean, we, every now and then she'd slip one my way. And one night we're all having dinner. There's a bunch of friends over. And she goes, yeah, whenever I want the house clean, I just give Maryse a black beauty. And she like does it. The whole house is spotless in less than an afternoon.
They're called black beauties?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're still called that.
Still?
We're talking something that's, 45, 46 years ago. I mean, before you were born. You weren't even a
Black Beauties capsules in
yes,
the 1970s.
Yep.
What drug was that?
That's funny.
What a headline. Black Beauties was the street name for a combination amphetamine capsule tablet containing 10 milligrams of amphetamine and 10 milligrams of dextroamphetamine. The trade name of Black Beauties was bifetamine 20. I guess because it's 20 milligrams of two different drugs. Amphetamines are stimulants, blah, blah, blah. The use of Black Beauties as a street drug exploded in the 60s and 70s when people started taking it recreationally. At the time, Black Beauties were widely considered a cheap and legal alternative to cocaine and popular among people wanting to get high or to increase their wakefulness. It wasn't until 65 when they became illegal except on prescription, and then the Controlled Substances Act was passed in 1970 that their use began to decline. Bifetamine 20 was withdrawn from the market in 1998.
Oh.
So it's similar to Adderall is what it says down here, which is still available today. So you had the precursor to Adderall. No wonder you were cleaning the kitchen and
oh my God, it was totally insane.
Everything. It treats people with ADHD. Yeah, you had the grandparent to Adderall.
Yeah. I didn't do it that often, probably a half a dozen times or so. But I remember going to my roommate's doctor. She went to a doctor to get a prescription for it.
Yeah.
The whole freaking waiting room was full of people. I could tell they were on it like all the time. So this doctor was just
were they all
handing out. I don't remember that. That's more like heroin will do that to you. But I remember that kind of freaked me out. There must have been like 12, 15 people in that waiting room, and I could tell they were all there for the same thing. And then, Sue went in the back, talked to the doctor. I mean, she was in and out in less than 3 minutes, So
wow.
She just went in, paid whatever the visit was, and got a prescription. And, handed them out to other people sometimes. So, like me.
Yeah. So we were talking Black Beauties. It reminded you of dexamethasone?
Yeah. That's kind of the same feel. Although with the Dex, because I was getting chemo too. Like when I was on the Black Beauties, my body didn't feel tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was just all of me was buzzing. But
yeah,
with the Dex, it was like that was forcing me up and moving and doing stuff, even though I felt exhausted. It's a weird feeling, and plus, it made me bitchy, and I wanted to kill people, and. All I'm like thinking in my head, I'm gonna fucking kill these people for doing that, and I'd be like, what am I thinking? Like, oh my God, what's happening?
Oh, geez.
Awful feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you, so it's good that you're not on so much Dex.
Oh my gosh, that's for
taking
sure.
a smaller
Yeah,
amount.
it's awful. Yeah. So
what did so you're doing this journey, you're taking alternative stuff. I remember you had bottles, like 30 something bottles on the kitchen counter because you were experimenting with different things. Like you said, you were throwing stuff on the wall, seeing what sticks. What are you doing now that you've kind of found your protocol? Like that's the sweet spot for like dealing with multiple myeloma.
Well, that's essentially what I am only taking the supplements that the naturopath oncologist.
Yeah. Did we go over all those though? Did we list them all?
No, I still have like.
Oh yeah,
I take about 20 supplements a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So what is it that you are taking?
Oh my gosh, I don't know them all off the top of my head, but curcumin is definitely one of them. Boswellia, berberine, zinc.
Mm-hmm.
Indoli Forte, but that's to control, to make sure I don't have a recurrence of breast cancer. And a bunch of other ones. They're not, I'd have to go look at my bottles. I mean, now I just take them automatically. I know how many to pull. I don't even read my list anymore. I've done it so many times. I just put them in a little bowl and, dump them all in there and then swallow
Put in a
swallow
bowl
them.
of cereal and just kind of
No, like
eat it.
in a little, what are those things called? A little
a pill
ramekin. I put them in a ramekin and then just take them. And it's become habit. I never used to like swallowing pills and stuff, but I got used to it.
What's a ramekin?
Those little round things that small little bowls.
Like a pestle, a mortar and pestle.
No, it's
thing?
a ramekin, Paul. Like those are ramekins.
Oh, I thought that was like a little. Yeah, I never knew that was the name.
Yeah.
I always thought that was for like a creme brulee dish or something.
Well, yeah, it's a ramekin.
Well, yeah, I just never knew that.
English major.
Yeah. You can keep telling me that's the name. I just didn't know that
You
was
didn't
the
know what
name.
it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know. Okay.
What I want to make clear, though, is that during my journey, I came to really respect the traditional doctors and the traditional drugs, too. I mean, I believe that you need all three. You need traditional, alternative, but mostly, above all of those, you need emotional. You have to heal your emotional body. You know, you have to work with the energy around your body, because what we know now, like Joe Dispenza says, that we used to think that cells took their instructions from within themselves, and now we know that I don't want to say this wrong. Now we know that they get their instructions from the energy around them, but it also involves, like, there's a light from within. I think the biospherus or something is what it's called. So they emanate a light. That light stretches out to around them, which touches the energy around, something along those lines. So based on that, so emotions are energy. So any emotions you have affects that field of energy that they're taking their instructions from. So then it makes sense that if you clear your emotional bodies, if you have a healthy emotional body, that the environment your cells live in will be well. You know, it's like they're taking good energy, not bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because all the energy around them affects them. So I felt a huge difference. So I've done a lot of quantum meditation. I still do. And some people swear by it, that just that alone will cure you. I never stopped there. I see it as the linchpin that made everything else work. But I think you need to do more than that. And I do a lot of stuff for emotional healing, because I had a lot of trauma. You know, I mean, if you read my first book, you know my story. A lot of early trauma that just, you know, all that crap. That's what my cells were getting instructions from that. No wonder I ended up with, breast cancer twice and then multiple myeloma, because that trauma was deep, deep, deep inside me. I'm, like down to the bone, right? And guess what? I have a disease that eats my bones from the inside out. But the emotional healing is super important. So I do EMDR. I've done all, different therapy, talk therapy for years now, since almost the beginning. And now I do EMDR. I do the meditation and breathing work. There's a thing called, maybe pull that up, ArthMath. I think it's .org or .com, but I have a little gizmo. It checks my heart rate variability, which makes a huge difference in your lifespan and then the wellness of your body in general. Mm-hmm. And so I do that several times a day to control my heart variability rate. Heart variability is that very small amount, like split-second amount of time between your breaths. And weirdly enough, that has a lot to do with your general health and general well-being. And since I've been using it, which has only been like I'm going to say probably a month, I've been doing it. I feel a big difference. Like I feel peaceful at my core. Mm-hmm. I feel more grounded. So it's probably a combination of that and the EMDR too, but I don't have like that crazy running negative train in my head of thoughts, that just colliding, constant crashing all day long, which I believe was brought on because I had so much anxiety. I mean, I grew up with it. I had so much anxiety from such a young age that I thought it's just how we are. I didn't realize it till I was well in my 40s, and someone I was close to pointed it out to me that I suffered from high anxiety. It took me days to come to the conclusion that, wow, that's what this is. Like, this is what's going on. I didn't even know. Because, when you live something with something your entire life, how the fuck do you know it's supposed to be any different,
Right, yeah. Well, you went over, I like that you covered just kind of the whole scheme of everything that you're working on. It sounds like a full-time job.
It really is. It is.
Yeah.
That's my full-time job, and anything I do for a living takes a backseat to it. Well, I mean, it's not as bad now because I've got a good regimen going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, but there's no way. I mean, some people think that they can just pop a pill and get over everything. It doesn't work that way,
Mm-hmm. I want to.
You have to do the work. I mean, anybody can heal. Like, you'll see the last chapter in my book. It's called Miracle Schmiracle. And, I was, how I came to write that is I was having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine in Arizona for, we talk about once a year or twice for a long time. And she says, wow, Maryse, you're a miracle, that you survive all that. And that just didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not a miracle. I just, did a lot of stuff, research, and, worked on healing myself and all that. But it bugged me to a point where I thought about it even after we hung up the phone. I'm like, why does that bother me so much that she said that, And then I thought because if you call it a miracle, then you take all the power away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It takes my power away. I did the work. I did all that.
Right.
Not some miracle schmiracle, something out there. And then I thought, well, and if I'm a miracle, then other people think, well, it can't happen for them, which is not true. It can happen for everybody if you do the work that I did.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she wasn't meaning anything.
No, she didn't mean it. She just, to her, it was a miracle that I survived that.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting when people are blaming Providence for the events that happen in their life, and they completely discount any value that they have,
they brought to the table.
Any hand that they had in manifesting change in their life. And it's like, you realize that you did that, right? Like, it's not, whether or not you believe in a God or whatever, it's people blame their deity for so many things, and it could be a good or a bad thing, but they say that their deity is the cause for all these things, and it's like, I think it discounts the individual human experience, as though you had no ability, no skills, no determination, no motivation, none of that to affect change in your life. And that's I would even say it's harmful in a way, because if you don't believe in yourself that you can do something, and that it's something else doing it for you and just moving you around like a puppet, and then what are you then?
You have no control.
Well, why do you even exist then? That's the question the conclusion I come to is like, why do you even exist then? If you were just a puppet for this deity to do stuff, why do you even exist? What's the point of your being alive?
That's one point of view for sure.
Yeah.
But we are. I mean, that's a different conversation, of course. But in so many ways, we are but puppets down here.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we can get
in
into
society. But like I said, it's a different conversation for sure.
In what way do you see that we're puppets?
Oh, come on. There's so many things we can't control, like what our governments have us do and the stories they tell us and how we're nurtured through a schooling system that teaches you nothing about how to live life, nothing that's useful in life.
Yeah.
It just, that whole thing. I mean, do you want to start talking about that, or?
We just talk about whatever. We just go wherever it takes us. I think
I have strong opinions there.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about a deity, but if we're talking
about...
Well,
we could talk about that too, because, like, I my take on that, like people who credit their deity for, say, a healing or any good thing that comes their way. Did you not notice that when something bad happens to them, they think it's like the devil did it. It has nothing to do with the deity. So they separate. If something good happens, their God fixed it.
Yeah.
If something bad happens, the devil got in there or something.
It's the cartoon from the 1950s where like you have this decision in your head and like the little devil Goofy
yes
shows up, and then the angel Goofy shows up, and then they have a conversation with you. Yeah.
Well, I'm anti-religion. I mean, apologies to anybody who's very religious, but I'm very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
I separate, and I think we all must separate religiosity from spirituality. I mean, in spirituality, I believe there's an energy out there that created us. I mean, I believe that there's a source from which we all came. So whether I call that the universe, sometimes God, but when I say God, that's what I mean. I don't mean like some guy with a white beard sitting up in a throne in the sky. That's totally illogical to me. And I know religion is not supposed to be logical, but it doesn't even make sense to me. Forget the logic.
Yeah.
So I do believe in that. And when you're healing yourself, you tap into that. Like that's what quantum meditation is. You literally take yourself out of your body, out of your head, into the quantum field, and everything exists there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take back anything you want. So I've been doing it mainly on healing, but if you want to be a billionaire, or you want to find your perfect mate, or there's a house you really want to buy and you don't know how you're going to be able to do it, I mean, you just go out there, you reach out, and the information comes to you. And people who have had, like, there's a lot of people who do Joe Dispenza's work who've had like spontaneous healing. I wasn't one of them. The majority of them, you have to do it over a long time. Like some people have done it for like 2 years and been fully healed. I did it for 2 years religiously, like every day, and then I kind of slowed down. And I'll probably gear up again. I think it's okay to sometimes, take breaks, not do as much as you normally do, because you kind of want the contrast too,
Yeah, so I know meditation is something where I sit there with my legs crossed, or I lay on the bed or something, and there's soft music or a person talking, and I guide myself through, a relaxation technique, or I listen to someone doing that, and I'm just kind of getting my head clear. So for me, that's kind of what I've known as meditation. So how does that differ? How does quantum meditation differ from what I just described?
Oh. Well, the first thing you do is, so you have 8 energy centers, right? 7 in your body, 1 above your head.
Chakras?
Yeah, some people call them chakras.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're pulling, so your mind sits a lot, like in the first 3 energy centers, and so when you're doing that meditation, you're pulling all the energy up, all through every energy center and out through your head, and now you're out in the field. And so you're guided all the way through it. And essentially, you're just out there, you're just feeling it. You put all of your focus out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you go as far as you possibly can. Now you're in a field, and then you start feeling like that thing that you want. Like for me, it was healing. So I reached out to the energy of healing out there. And then you bring it back and you do it in reverse. Like you take it all the way through your energy centers, going down to the first one. So that's a simplified explanation that I think everybody could probably understand.
Yeah. So and we actually we talked about this. Brendan was on last week in the last episode, and so she described something else. She was talking about mindfulness or something. We pulled up something, John, where we had an electromagnet, like the human body is an electromagnet, like the field.
Mm-hmm.
So the top of the head is basically the antenna, more or less. Above the head, it's like the antenna, and then so you're saying you're going out of the body, leaving yourself, reaching into a field of what?
It's an energy field.
Okay.
I mean, you really feel. I have actually, like the goal is to feel like you forget that you have a body, and that's happened to me a few times. And a little bit freaky. So, I've never stayed there very long, but my goal is to eventually stay there a lot longer, because those few times when I really reached out there, I was literally, my consciousness was completely outside my body. I felt like I was like here, like looking all around outside my body. It was quite an experience. It's really, really cool. And I wish I could stay there longer, but the body pulls you back, so you have to, the idea is to do it over and over and over again until that doesn't happen anymore, until your body realizes that it's not anything to be afraid of, because when your mind does it too, because your brain rather, task is to make sure that you survive and that you're safe so you can reproduce, right? So for you to leave it like that, it freaks out and, wants you back where it can control you.
Oh, the lizard brain is like...
No, it's the whole brain. Yeah, okay. Because its purpose is for that, like to keep you alive and what was the other thing? It's 3 things: to keep you alive, because it wants to make sure you reproduce. So that's all it does: keep you safe, keep you alive, and make sure you reproduce.
Okay.
Yeah. It does a lot more than we think in many ways. Yeah.
I'm interested because if we think about like religion, deities, we think about quantum meditation, you're talking about like, well, you can meditate and become a billionaire, or get that job or a car, and it just almost seems to me like it's another replacement for God, help me get this job, or God,
no, I don't think
make
so.
my little boy well again. And now you're just doing another version of that and making it scientific sounding, but
it is much more because you have a hand in it. You're creating it. You're not asking something else to create it. You are doing it. You're taking action. And then that can't just be during meditation. You have to take that feeling that you get, like the one that you, like the healing feeling that I was after. So I bring it back in my body. I can't just get up from meditation and go off about my day like the way I've always have. I have to get up as that new person, and I have to keep that feeling inside me as much as possible in the 24 hours between today's meditation and tomorrow's. And I have to take action. But, my inspiration, I think, to finally hire a naturopath oncologist and go into, energy healing and emotional healing, that came from meditation. So, but I took action on those things. So, when people, they just say a prayer once and then they think it's going to happen, that doesn't really work. I mean, some people might say it does. Sometimes you have spontaneous stuff happen in the world, even with quantum meditation. Some people have spontaneous healings. Most of them don't. They have to do the work over a period of time.
I kind of equate this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of equate this to like the outcome that I have from a mushroom trip where I'm getting a download, but that's not the work. I'm coming back from another place in a way, or I'm coming back from having a conversation with them and I'm coming back with new information.
Yes.
So then I write it down, but now that's just information that's written down, so that's great. I came back from another place with information I didn't have before. It's written down, but if I don't do anything with that information,
it goes away.
What was the point of even the whole experience anyway?
Yeah,
it's that I need to act on that information. So is that kind of what you're describing here?
Yeah, but it goes. Yes, you have to take action and everything, but you have to become that new person. I had to become the healed person. I had to feel at all times like I was healed.
Right, but that's after the meditation is over though, right? And that's what I'm describing also, is that when I'm done with the trip is I have to go start trying to work on becoming this thing that I've now visualized.
You're taking action from the information you got, but I think that probably it would behoove you to also feel as though it's already happened, because that's what makes it happen in the end. You have to feel like you are, for healing, I have to feel like I'm already healed at all times.
So
it's not that easy. I mean, it's something you have to take action. You have to work on it. You have to constantly remind yourself.
So then what is it that's actually manifesting the change then? Is it the meditation, or is it the mindset change that comes from the meditation that now I feel a certain way mentally having meditated? Now in my mind I'm believing that I'm going to be a certain thing, and that's the thing that's actually manifesting. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. And I believe it's a combination of both.
Okay.
You create it out there in the field, you bring it back, but if you don't use it, it's going to go away.
Got it. So they're both necessary.
Yes.
To complete the
three things are necessary. You do the meditation, so you get that feeling. You bring it back within. You have to keep feeling it, and you have to take action.
So keep feeling it. I get that because I meditated on something. I felt a certain way during the meditation, and now I have to stay in that.
Yes, you have to stay in that state.
Energy state. Yeah, I get that. And then what's the doing?
Taking action, like, from whatever, like, so for me to take the actions I took was to take charge of my traditional care. I didn't let the oncologist bully me anymore, because I saw it as bullying. She just saw it as being a good doctor and taking good care of me. Everybody has their own take on the situation, right?
Sure.
So, and she said to me something one time that's kind of funny, but it's true. Like, she, once I was all healed, it was all gone, right? She's about to walk out of the room, and she turns to me and she goes, "Well, I'll say this." She says, "You're pretty resilient." And then she stops at the door, thinks for a second, turns around, she goes, "Not always compliant, but very resilient." I was far from compliant. But I'm not sure why. What was I saying right before this? I forgot.
Oh, we're just talking about the meditation, like the 3 things you have to do.
Yeah.
So you have to act.
Yes, you have to act in I guess in a more organized manner, because nothing happened for me until I did that. I was more organized, and you have to really believe. You have to make the decision. I made the decision I was going to be better than I was before diagnosis.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, I truly believe I'm there. Not completely, because there's always improvement. We're always working on ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, I like myself now a lot better than I did 6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed a massive change. I've noticed, like, was it Jesus? Was that 6?
Well, I mean, I'm talking, it was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
it'll be 5 years at I think March 18. But I'm talking about like the year before that happened, like how I was then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I've noticed a big change in the last several years where your mindset's different. Like, you're still dealing with struggling just like everyone else that's facing cancer, and but you're doing it definitely with like a different mindset for sure. And, and it's like you're also pursuing the things that you've always wanted to do. Like, you're writing books now, and that's cool to see.
Yeah, and I left a business that supported me for more than 20 years because it was awful. Like, the stress was awful. I had employees. I didn't want that. Yeah. And, I just like took a leap of faith. I said, fuck it, I'm out of here. That's it. That was after I went to the Joe Dispenza week-long advanced retreat, within I think it's over a 5.5 day period of time, you're in meditation for something like 40 or 60 hours, something like that. So.
Wow.
And then it's on the way back that I thought, you know what? I'm getting out of that business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to write. And, then the coaching came to me and meditation, essentially, because I thought, like seeing people in the infusion rooms is what got me thinking about that, because I was like, nobody seems to know that there's an alternative, that they can do something else. And everybody's all, I was all messed up at first. I was scared. I was upset. You don't know where to turn. You don't know where to start. You don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, apparently I figured it out, and I want to show other people how to do it too. So all that came, from leaving the business and deciding I'm going to do something completely different. And I was already writing that book. But after I made that decision and stuff, literally within 6 months, it was done. It was in the can, and it was with the editor.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I'd been working on it for, I think, a couple of years, here and there or whatever.
I think a lot about systems, and I've mentioned this before on the show, like the way that systems are built. And, you've got a lot of cycles on trying out different supplements and trying out different modalities and talking to a naturopath. And I think for a while, I do even remember you tried not doing chemo and doing strictly just the alternative stuff.
Yeah, I did after after the first course of chemo. I did try that. I was taking just some Chinese herb that apparently a woman in China had survived multiple myeloma for over 20 years just taking that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I don't. There's an article on there on NIH, and but I don't know what else she was doing. And I did try that, but I couldn't obtain it in Vegas. I went to an acupuncturist who's also a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, and I took it for a couple of months. She couldn't get a hold of it, and she tried to make it for me, and that was a pain in the butt. So then she told me she couldn't get it for me anymore, and just on its own, it didn't work anyway, because when I went back to Dr. Sanchez, my numbers were climbing again.
Yeah.
So it wasn't enough, or because I don't know what else. And I wasn't doing any other supplements. Well, I was doing some, but stuff I picked myself not out of the blue, from research I did. But without the testing, one thing Western medicine is great at is testing. I never turned down a diagnostic test. Never.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's other tests that traditional medicine doesn't cover, like insurance companies won't cover it. So you have to go to a naturopath, and they ordered like the poop test and the urine test and different blood tests that you can't get from because your insurance company won't cover it. You have to pay cash for that. Yeah, it's a pain, but dude, do you want to spend the money or, lose years off your life? It's a choice, right?
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about with the system, is that you've kind of already done a lot of this trial and error of creating in your mind what's like maybe not perfect, but like the best system you've discovered in terms of supplementation, chemotherapy, mindset, and everything. So what do you see as being the system that you would be like if someone was to come to you and ask like, hey, how do I start? I'm sitting in the cattle room of a bunch of chemo people. I'm feeling this low energy. I'm recognizing it. What do I do? What can I do? How can I start like trying to be better, be healthier, and not think that cancer is my death sentence?
Well, that's it. You have to work on your mindset. A lot of that involves emotional healing. So that's one of the first things I hit with people. It depends on who it is, because so I set up this program, right? And there's it's either 3 or 6 months. And there's 12 modules in the 3-month one, and 24 in a 6-month one. But I might not start in the same place with you as I would with somebody else. It depends where they're at. Mm-hmm. So we have to start where the person is at. If they don't yet believe in energy healing or emotional healing, then I'm not going to tell them that, they have to start meditating right away and they've got to do EMDR right away or whatever. I'm going to first help them handle the traditional care, like take charge, not let the doctors bully them, and then I'm going to immediately tell them to go to a naturopath of some kind, whatever one specializes in what their ailment is, because most everybody can accept that. It's not a big transition to go from, a traditional doctor to a naturopath. It's still a doctor. Mm-hmm. And, they'll tell you different information, they'll do different tests, but the whole process is kind of the same. You go to a doctor's office, they're wearing white coats, right?
They're all
so it's not a big leap.
Yeah.
The emotional healing and energy healing might be a big leap for a lot of people. So while they're busy doing that, and we're talking about that, slowly I'll introduce the energy healing, the emotional healing, and I might do it quicker depending on their mindset. If they're very open to it, man, we jump right in there right away, because that's what's going to make the biggest difference.
The naturopath, those are all MDs?
No, not all of them. Some are. Some MDs have become naturopath. Or naturopaths have then become, like the one I had in Vegas was an MD who was a naturopath. They're not all like that, though.
Well, you said they're all doctors.
Well, they're doctors. They're just not, FDA stamped doctors.
well, what is they can't call themselves a doctor unless they go through medical school,
they're
right?
doctors of, I think they're called, DOs. Or NDs, look that
NDs.
up.
Let's look up
ND.
A naturopath.
And No,
certification?
just period D, and then also doctor of osteo
You
something
saying
something.
M or N?
N as in November.
A DO is also a doctor. The 2 degrees reflect
Yeah.
different types of medical school training. MDs attend allopathic medical schools, while DOs attend osteopathic medical schools.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a naturopath is mainly a DO.
Yeah, I believe so. Like the one that I worked with, she was a naturopath oncologist, and she was the only certified one in the entire state of Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's not a lot of them out here, huh?
No, not a lot. I had to really dig to find her. So because one thing I won't do, it's like, you could be really, before I had that night and I made the decision, sometimes I could be a little fluffy. You don't want to be fluffy. I won't do anything now that doesn't have a bunch of studies to back it up.
What do you mean by fluffy?
Well, like thinking, I'm going to take this for a while because I read an article on it and apparently it really helps. And, then you do that for 2 months, 3 months, and then you read another article and you go, oh, that's supposed to be much better. I'm going to do that instead. That's
called
like
being fluffy.
Yeah, well, that's yes, you're being fluffy.
I thought when you said fluffy, I was picturing like you're eating a lot of carbs and sugar or something.
Oh, that too. That's part of it. Yeah. And you become fluffy.
Yeah. Or you mean like wishy-washy?
Yeah,
fluffy,
wishy-washy. Yes,
yeah.
That might be a better term.
Yeah.
So, like, now I won't do anything unless, even if there's no sign, because a lot of times with stuff, a lot of the supplements or modalities, there's no studies that have been done. Studies are extremely expensive to do. Yeah. And there's not a lot of money in any of these things. There's not a lot of money to be made. Like, taking the curcumin. Who the fuck's going to do a study on that? It's not the curcumin company. They can't afford it. They don't, they sell that stuff for $40 a bottle, But there can be a lot of, oh my God, what's the term? When a lot of people have done something successfully, there's a term for it. So if there's no scientific study, so anything that I do now, no, it's not a trend. It's something evidence. Sorry, I didn't retain what it means, but I mean what the term is. But so if you don't have studies and stuff, like, when I was reading Kyprolis, THC, there's actual studies have been done on that.
Sure.
Any of the other stuff, like all the supplements that she gave me at first, she gave me information. I researched them all, or read articles on them, or at least. So the way that she worked was, first, whatever she prescribed or did was they start with anything that has studies done for it. And if they can't find that, then they move on to giving you something where, like it worked for thousands of people. Which is, my gosh, there's a term for it. It's not, maybe it'll come to mind in a minute.
Crowdsourcing?
No. It's has to do, jeez, I feel stupid now. How could we?
It's fine. I don't know. What?
No, it's not that. It's,
well, he's just, checking, trying to see if we can find it.
But anyway, it's like, so let's say you take the curcumin, right? It's worked for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, but no studies were done on it. But you can assume that if it helped that many people, it's probably going to, there's a really high chance that it's going to help you. No, that's not the right term. It starts with an A.
Can we can survive without finding the word,
Yes,
right?
I think we can.
Okay.
Yeah. We could take a break and I'll look it up.
You were really hung up on finding this word.
I know, which I wouldn't mind taking a break, by the way.
Oh, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break.
Take a break and we'll look it up.
All right, we'll come back.
Cool. Okay.
All right. We're back.
We're back.
Yeah, we still couldn't find that word.
We're not sure if it's a good thing, but we're back.
I think it's a good thing. Hey, John, let's go to ChatGPT. I want to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We're gonna see if the AI can figure out what word you're talking about.
Oh, that's. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
So we're gonna put it on here in a second. Oh yeah, log me in. Do the Google down below, Google, and then there it is.
That's a cool tool, by the way.
It's very cool. Okay, so what did you want to ask it?
What do you call the proof related to thousands of people taking a supplement and it works? That's not the right.
Yeah.
Let's start
taking
there.
a supplement and it works.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And then the word starts with the letter A.
The word starts with the letter A. Yes.
Okay.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah. The word you made.
Anecdotal. Yes.
Hey, we got it.
Thank you, GPT.
Dude.
Yeah, so anecdotal evidence is when there's so many people who have had success with something that you
That's
can't
funny.
deny it, you know?
Right.
Even though there hasn't been official studies
I
that
use
cost millions of dollars.
I use the word anecdotal all the time. But
I know,
I didn't know.
it wouldn't come to mind.
I didn't think of it in terms of like medical supplements or whatever.
I didn't microdose today. Maybe that's why I couldn't think of it. I don't know.
What's your regimen on that? How often are you doing that?
1 day on, 3 days off. Sometimes I go off of it for a bit, for a few, because you're supposed to just like do it for 6-7 weeks and then take a break and then get back into it.
So 1 day on, 3 days off for how long?
For 6-7 weeks.
Okay.
You know.
And how much are you taking?
Oh, like 0.2
grams.
Right.
0.2 grams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
2 or 3 sometimes.
And you find that your cognitive abilities to think throughout the day is
much better.
Is good.
Yeah. And it carries over too, like, you know, the succeeding days. There's that, and then I don't feel anxiety as much. Although I don't really feel anxiety like I used to. Not just from that, but from all the other stuff that I'm doing. You know, the meditation had a lot to do with it. EMDR.
Are you getting any kind of trippy effects at all?
No.
So that low
Zero.
of a dose, yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever feel trippy effect.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with that cycle, the 6 weeks?
Third Wave. I think that's the name of the website, thirdwave.com. And the guy wrote a book. I'm reading his book now. You know, I've been eating the actual dried mushroom, but I'm going to start making my own tincture so that it's more, whatever dosage I get is more even.
Yeah, this guy, thirdwave.co. Oh, they've got a tincture here. It looks like they're already making it.
Oh, they do? Oh.
Well, that's what it seems like. That's what I'm looking at, yeah.
I don't think, because I don't think it's legal for them to sell it yet. I think they're probably getting ready to.
Dude, there are so many people selling stuff now.
There's so many studies, though, on that, on what it does, like, you know, psychiatry. Because what happened is that, you know, in the 60s, Timothy Leary totally fucked it up for everybody. Him and his buddy, forgot what his name was. He became Ram Dass later. But, you know, they pissed off Harvard. And they pissed off a lot of people because of the way they were handling their studies and stuff. They weren't being very scientific about it. And then people would steal the shit out of their labs and sell it out on the street. You know, we were all getting high on LSD. And so that, we lost all that time, you know, all the benefits that a lot of people could have experienced, you know, relief from mental issues. All these years, all that time was lost because of the stupidity that they did, you know?
Yeah.
Now it's revving up again. So there's a lot of studies. It's becoming more mainstream, and it's probably going to be accepted, you know, like psychiatrists are going to be able to prescribe it to patients.
Yeah. Just hearing you talk about that, it makes me a little sad to hear about like how humans are, like our reactions, our behaviors. We're so like mechanical, anxious creatures, and if it's not following the exact procedure, then you know everything goes poorly. And it's like, you're right. Like maybe those guys messed it up for everybody, but they were probably trying to have a good time and just enjoy what they were doing. And how do they know that it's going to change the outcome of generations, how generations view drugs or LSD or psychedelics in general? Like they probably it never occurred to them that that's the outcome of, their behaviors. They just thought, hey, we're having a good time.
No, they weren't doing it for a good time. They were doing research. That was their main goal. They thought it would really help people with mental issues and stuff. It's just that they didn't do it in an organized fashion, in a precise way, like in something that could be followed through. And then they overdid it with some people, and people would complain, that they had bad outcomes.
See if you can find anything on that, John, where it talks about the fallout.
I mean, Timothy Leary was supposedly been in that project that cooked his brain with LSD.
That did what?
Timothy Leary?
Yeah.
He was involved in the Harvard suicide project.
Yes. Yeah, he did. And, I don't know. I read a lot of stuff because I talk about him in my book. And there's a lot of different information about him. Like in one place it said that at one point he was arrested and given a 10-year prison sentence. But then 3 months later, he was arrested apparently again, like in Mexico or something. I know that he ended up doing a lot of prison time because he tried to cross the border with an ounce of pot, and he got like 10 years in jail or something.
Geez.
Really ridiculous.
For an ounce?
Yes. It was a very small amount. And I don't know. It was bad. But what they... But anyway, I kind of hold them responsible for all the time that we lost with that, and for the big difference it could have made to people. Now, they were pioneers. I understand they made mistakes and all that, but it sucks. If they had been more organized about it, more serious, and they'd followed, the protocols for studies that Harvard had set, we'd all be in a better place. They just decided to become cowboys and do it their own way. You can't always do that. Not with something this serious. I mean, I'm all about having fun and throwing caution to the wind sometimes with some stuff, but not on something big like that.
Sure. Yeah. I talked about that with Brendan last week, where like we definitely enjoy the experience, but we want to be responsible about it. Like understand that the dosages are important.
Yes.
Not just doing cowboy shit, but making sure that we're not going to damage our minds or our
exactly
bodies. Yeah.
Because that's serious stuff. I mean, I remember my first LSD trip. I was 14 years old, and I was on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, California, and where I had hitchhiked to from Montreal with some friends, but that's another story. Anyway, I literally lost like 8 hours. The dosage was probably too high for me, whatever I took, but I was with a boyfriend and he did take care of me. Nothing bad happened, but I lost like 8 hours. My mind was complete. To this day, I don't remember where I was in my mind.
Yeah.
And that wasn't helpful, or...
No, that's
it
not
just
good.
scared the shit out of me. Like I never could do ever again. Like even to this day, I'll do the microdosing, but I never want to take an actual trip. I mean, as you know, I have done a little bit more, but I'm very cautious, man. And after that, I would do LSD. Like, I would take the LSD 25, like the microdot. I would cut it in fourths and just take a fourth, which did almost nothing, But I was okay with that. I could handle that, like the walls would move a little and whatever. But I don't need as much as the next person anyway in anything that I ingest.
Sure, yeah.
It always affects me more than other people. So, I mean, I just look at a joint and I'm high, I don't even need to. I remember being in living rooms in Amsterdam, and, the hash joints would make their way around the room. I would just pretend to toke. But, because I was in a small enough room and there were 10 or more people, or, I don't know, just a few people smoking the joint, just the smoke from it, I would be high.
Yeah. So you'd pull a Bill Clinton where you don't inhale?
Oh, yeah. Is that what he said? Yeah. Because I knew that it would affect me way too much.
Yeah.
So,
just contact high in the room.
Yeah. That was more than enough for me.
Yeah.
So I was a sorry-ass drug dealer, I guess. I couldn't even handle my own product.
That's what probably made you a good dealer, though. Like, you didn't have to consume your own stuff. There wasn't the temptation to overindulge.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people should know, listening to this, like, you have your other memoir where you talked about being a drug dealer in Amsterdam and other places. You've had pretty wild life.
Yeah, I have. And, all that came from trauma that I suffered when I was younger. I just became this wild and crazy teenager. And until I was 25 years old, it was, no, a little bit, like until I was 24, because I really calmed down after I came back from Amsterdam. I got a real job, as a DJ, which, coming from where I was coming, going from being a drug dealer to a DJ, that was like going straight, right? So, but all of that like added up in my body over years. That's why I ended up with cancer. I had a lot of anger and anxiety, and all kinds of insecurities. So it all piles on, man. You got to clean out the emotional wreck that you become. You got to clean out all those bad emotions. That's the only way through. It's hard work, but it's a choice.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting when you're talking about, like, if you're going to be coaching some people and helping them through their cancer and another serious life journey, that you focus on the emotional first. Like
yeah, as soon as I possibly can, because it takes care of so many things and it makes everything else work, Yeah. And I see myself as a Sherpa with them, So I'm holding their hand through the journey while I'm teaching them what they can do. What I'm teaching them the possibilities.
Yeah.
What's possible, for them to heal. And I'm not doing the job of an oncologist, naturopath, say, or a therapist who does EMDR. I'm actually sending them to those people.
Sure.
I want them to find their own, somebody they trust. So, I'm the guide, I'm saying, hey, you really need to do this. Go find somebody and do it. And then we talk about the person, whether that'll be suitable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just working with me. From working with me, they will have to work with health providers.
Yeah.
Mainly a naturopath, so they can get into alternatives, or an acupuncturist, traditional Chinese medicine doctor, one of those, depending on their health issue.
Yeah, so you're basically taking somebody that's stuck in the conventional route and just showing them the options, that there's more to it than just what this one thing is.
Yeah, I'm showing them because so many people don't know. I mean, they have heard maybe that there's other things they could do, but they don't know where to start.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing, is showing them the way.
That's cool.
Like a Sherpa.
Yeah, I like that. That is cool. How has EMDR helped you specifically with the cancer and specifically with like your health journey?
Well, the EMDR works on your emotional health. Like you have certain mental issues or emotions that you've dealt with that, like, I had. So I'm trying to think of which issues. Okay, so I'll bring an issue. It's a bit embarrassing, but it's something I've dealt with my whole life. So as a child, my mother was a bit, she was stressed and anxious too, and did some things that she shouldn't have done, But I remember, like, every Saturday I had to vacuum and dust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I was always doing it wrong. If I vacuumed first, then dusted, I got yelled at and pinched or slapped because I didn't do it the other way around. So if I vacuumed first, then dusted, it was wrong. If I dusted first and vacuumed first, it was wrong. So I was always like, oh my God, like I didn't know which one to do. And that went on for years. So I developed this habit of always, like, this is how I worked all the time. Like, in my daily work, until I did EMDR, I would literally jump from one task to another constantly, like, oh, what should I do first? Because I felt like I had to do all these 10 tasks all right now, this minute.
Yeah.
Which is totally insane. And then you don't accomplish much, It's a lot slower progress. And if you just take one thing and work on that alone, like multitasking doesn't work. That's been debunked for a long time now. And I learned that in the applied neuroscience class. So, but what the EMDR, so I worked on that particular issue. We started there, the vacuuming and the dusting, and then you're doing this thing with the therapist, and she has a light, and you go from, one light to the other. So your eyes, it's eye movement, right? The look up EMDR. Yeah, it's emotional desensitization, something. You already had it up. EMDR. EMDR is an acronym for something. Eye movement desensitization.
And go to the top and
It's down
reprocessing.
below,
It's at the
actually.
very top. Look
Oh.
right there. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Yeah. So while you're looking at the light, you just let any thoughts come from that first one. Because I was putting myself in the scene of being in my mother's living room and, not knowing whether to dust or vacuum first. And then other thoughts came of other incidents later that resembled that one. So it's a fast way to, doing EMDR is like doing for, say, 6 months. It's like doing talk therapy for 10 years.
Yeah,
You get to the heart of it a lot quicker.
Let's read this because I like this, what they have on their website for lay people, just to explain it. So EMDR is a psychotherapy that enables people to heal from the symptoms and emotional distress that are the result of disturbing life experiences. Repeated studies show that by using EMDR therapy, people can experience the benefits of psychotherapy that once took years to make a difference. And it goes on to a lot more stuff dealing with physical trauma and other issues. Yeah, I've done it. I've done EMDR.
I'm aware, yeah.
You
It's
are
helped
aware.
you?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
my mom happens to be aware of what's going on in my life. That's nice. Yeah, no, it has. And I don't like that description because it makes it sound psychotherapy. It sounds like some real serious shit is going on,
It
man.
is.
Well,
It's
but
serious shit.
but the way
What
they
are you
describe
talking
it,
about?
I don't know. It's not. I'll break it down for anyone listening and watching. Like, it basically it's just like the person, the therapist will talk to you about a thing. So you bring up a thing. Hey, this has been an issue, or maybe I don't even know it's an issue. And so they'll bring up some stuff. You talk about some things that you want to work on, and then they're like, yeah, how do you feel about that? And like imagine the feeling that you're feeling in that moment. Okay, I'm thinking about that moment I was angry or something, and I can feel I'm reliving that moment, and I'm feeling a memory of that anger. Okay, I got it. Cool. So then they show you a ball on the screen. It bounces back and forth, and you look at that, and then they start taking you backwards and like, do you remember another time before that time that you felt similar to that? And it's like, okay, yeah, 20 years ago I felt this. Okay, let's look at the ball and think about that feeling. Just keep processing that. The ball goes back and forth, and it's like, what did you get? And it's like, yeah, I felt this and this, and I remember when I was 10 that this happened, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's do that. And so they keep going, working you back to the very beginning of your life, as early as you can remember ever feeling that feeling. And then they walk you all the way back, and then they take you back into current times, and like, okay, now think about that thing that just happened last week or 2 years ago or whatever, right? The most recent thing. Look at the ball going back and forth, and all of a sudden they're like, how do you feel about it now? And I'm like, nothing. I don't really feel anything about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, that's weird.
That's the idea behind it.
Right, but the way they describe it on the website makes it sound like it's this intense, weird, crazy thing, but it's like this thing that all of a sudden I just don't feel the feeling that I had before. It's just gone.
Yeah, so it's what's happening to you from it, but that's the description of what it does.
Right, I don't like the description, but I
hey, as long as it works.
Well, when
but
they
there's
say
a lot
psychotherapy,
of
it just sounds like a little intense. But I mean, the actual act of doing it for anyone listening, because I don't want the description to freak anyone out. But like do the actual act of it, it was like, oh, that's it. Yeah,
it's still work. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
tired after like an hour of doing that with my therapist. I mean, because it's exhausting. You're revisiting bad shit.
It
in
is
your
exhausting.
Life,
Yeah, for sure.
It's
I've had
very
sessions.
mentally tiring.
I've had sessions where I'm like, all right, man, let's take a break. Yeah, I'm just kind of tired of going through all of that.
Yep.
But it really is cool because it's just all of a sudden I just don't feel any way about the thing anymore.
Yep. That's what's happening with me. It's calmed me way to fuck down.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand that. I think people think, oh no, like you've been dealing with this for years, so that's what you are, or that's who you are, and that's what you feel, or something. It's like people are used to you being a certain way.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you just don't feel anything about that. It's like, okay.
It's good, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
it is good.
Because I work differently now. I mean, I notice a big difference in how I work from not going back to that jumping around,
Yeah. So for me, it was anger, just processing like anger and stuff, and it's just like it's not. I don't know that it's ever like perfectly ever miraculously gone for good, but it's for me it feels just like drastically
reduced. Yeah.
Drastically reduced.
Yeah.
The things that would trigger me or set me off just don't do it anymore, and it's just like, okay, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But what? So we got into the description of it. I talked about my thing, and I'm sorry I digressed from yours. But
no worries.
you were saying that, like, how is EMDR specifically used in terms of like emotional healing while you're going through cancer? Like, why is that beneficial to you?
Because if you become emotionally healthy, then your body is healthy. Everything is linked: mind, body, spirit. Spirit, I put in like so emotional healing is part of your spirit.
Yeah.
Everything's in balance. Everything communicates with each other. So if you're emotionally well balanced and healthy, your body will be healthy. It's the energy you send around to all the cells in your body.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they'll be swimming in now, instead of anxiety and anger and depression and what have you.
You mentioned earlier about the cells. Originally, it was thought that the cells received instructions internally.
Only internally.
Right, and then now it's believed that they're getting external instructions.
Yes, from the energy field around them.
Yeah.
That's what Joe Dispenza says, and it makes sense the way that he explains it. I tried to pull up an article before I got here. It's in his books. I couldn't find anything that specifically says that on any of his blogs, but anybody can go
about
to
cell
the blog.
instructions.
Yeah. They could probably find it on his blog. So he's a bit controversial because nobody's ever done what he's done before. But they're doing a ton of studies with like University of California at San Diego. There's all these scientists working on all that. Whenever he has the week long, they didn't do it when I was there because it was like still COVID, so they couldn't do the coherence healings that they do, and they couldn't do the scientific experiments. They put all these monitors on people's heads and stuff, and they monitor everything that happens to their body while they're meditating and everything. It's quite fascinating. So there's a ton of articles on the blog, but anything that's different from the norm takes literally 30 to 40 years to make it to the mainstream, and the first people who bring it into our
purview,
sphere of knowledge and into purview, they're always maligned.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, I talk about that in my book too. I say, yesterday's woo-woos, today's mainstream.
Yeah.
Like you look at the doctor, the Hungarian doctor who first brought up the idea of washing your hand, that for doctors to wash their hands with soap before they help deliver a baby. It got so bad for him. Like, they all poo-pooed him. What are you? I'm going to wash my hands? What are you? Like, it's insulting to them personally, right?
Is that how they said it?
Yeah. I mean, that was the attitude, like they laughed at him. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Making me a doctor, like I'm such an important person. Wash my hands. My hands are fine.
After they just got done smoking a cigarette and eating a ham
whatever.
sandwich.
Yeah. And then, so this doctor was having like a lot, it used to be a thing, like mothers and infants often died in childbirth. It was this really dangerous thing.
Sure.
And his success rate was, 99% success. Only 1% of his patients or the infant ever died, whereas I think the average back then was 20-30% were dying.
Look this guy up.
Yeah, I forgot his name. It's a long Hungarian name. But anyway, about 20 years later, he finally had a mental breakdown, and all his colleagues, everybody, like a bunch of doctors got together and had him put in a nut house. And he was beaten severely by guards in there, and he died like 3-4 days later. Yeah, they fucking killed him and now can you imagine walking into like all doctors wash their hands, right?
Yeah.
Before surgery, even before they see you in their office, they wash their hands.
Here, that's his name, right?
Let me see.
Oh, it just left. So
yeah, that's it. That's him.
Ignaz Semmelweis.
Yeah. So it's an incredible, and I tell the story briefly in my book, but you could read about him online.
Let's go back. Yeah.
So there's that, and then
Let's go back there for a second here. So the doctor who championed hand washing and briefly saved lives. Go down. Right there. The year was 1846, and our would-be hero was that's a weird way to say it, was a Hungarian doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis. Semmelweis was a man of his time, according to Justin Lesser, an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. It was a time Lessler describes as the start of the golden age of the physician-scientist, when physicians were expected to have scientific training. See if you can find a thing about the hands, though.
Yeah, look,
on
hand
there.
washing on there.
Hand. Let's just keep searching the word hands. Semmelweis hypothesized that there were cadaverous particles, little pieces of corpse, that students were getting on their hands from the cadavers they dissected, and when they delivered the babies, these particles would get inside the women. Holy fuck, they were dissecting
Yes.
cadavers and then going straight to a
Yes.
delivery?
Yes, without washing
shit.
their hands.
Jesus. No wonder these fucking kids were dying. Look at this. What were
I
they?
mean, we're laughing, but it's not funny.
No. Can you imagine today an obstetrician just got done dissecting a body, has a bunch of dead body juice on their hands, and then going, "Oh, Martha, you're delivering your baby." Jesus, no wonder.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's
1840
why like people
God.
like poo-poo and they say that Joe Dispenza's a nut job and what have you, but it's the new way. I think, there's a lot of people out there who now believe that emotional healing, energy healing, and doing that, the meditation is the medicine of the future.
Yeah.
That's being said even by some mainstream people, who are being vilified for saying it, of course. But there's so many cases, like, incubators. What's the first thing you see when you go to a hospital and you go visit a nursery? You see all those incubators, right?
Oh, the NICU. The neonatal ICU.
Yeah. So that was another thing. It took like 40 years before that became mainstream. A doctor brought it. He saw it in Germany, brought it here. No hospitals wanted it. No doctors would listen to him or anything. He ended up opening an exhibit at Coney Island in New York with a bunch of incubators. And he would charge people like 25 cents to go in and look at the babies in the incubator, so that would pay for the care of the babies in the incubator, so the parents wouldn't have to pay for it. So it took over 20 years before hospitals finally paid attention, saw how many lives he was saving. Like, people would bring their dying babies, like they'd been told by the hospital, your baby's dying, there's nothing more we can do. They would take them there, and their lives were saved from being in an incubator. And it wasn't until 40 years later that he finally felt comfortable shutting it down, because enough hospitals around the country
Pull this
had them.
guy up, John. I want to see what year. Do you know?
Put in like Coney Island incubators.
Holy
they should come
shit.
up.
So he
Yeah.
turned these babies into circus freaks
He had to
save their lives.
To save their
People would
lives.
go look at them.
Well, they were behind a big glass wall.
I know,
like
but
nobody, the babies didn't know that people were watching them.
This is it. This is Coney Island. Look at this. This is a grandpa showing his kid. Look at the baby, and they'd pay 25 cents to see that there's a nurse.
Well,
like,
they weren't. They was behind a wall. I don't think that they were opening the incubators like that, as far as I know. I don't know where they got
see
that
if you can
image
get some
from.
more on this. This is unbelievable. I
Yeah.
can't believe this. They
Yeah.
they turn in these kids into like circus attractions.
But
to
it
be able
worked
to pay for their medical care.
yes. And the parents didn't have
Look
to
at
pay
this.
either.
Born alive with their heads grown. Oh, that's not it.
Wait. Our Coney Island sideshow, advanced medicine for premature babies. That is it.
Yes.
That's also about.
See what else you can, if you can find a picture. I got to see a picture of a baby at Coney Island.
There's one that
Incubators. There it is.
Yeah.
Zoom in on this, man. So the guy would just say, it's hard to, it's a bad picture. It's old.
It is.
but
It is.
it's an attraction. There's the circus thing on the left, and then you got people saying, come in, check out these incubators. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's and I have other.
What's this guy's name?
Oh, I forgot. It's
Martin Corney.
no.
Cooney.
that's-
County.
What? Yeah,
Cooney.
Cooney was his name. Yeah.
Cooney.
Yeah.
Wow.
So everything that's new in medicine or whatever, first it's always very woo-woo,
Yeah.
and it takes fucking 30, 40 years before it becomes mainstream. Like somebody like me doesn't have time to wait. I was fucking dying.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and reach out, and as long as you have it's not something totally crazy, it's something that other people did before and it's been proven to work, whether it's anecdotal or otherwise, I'm going to do it.
What do you see? What's the cell thing? Because I'm really interested in this still. Like, I don't think we fully covered that. Is that the cell is getting instructions from outside itself on how to heal, but what is the process you're going through to make that happen?
through your emotions, like meditation. So you're bringing in the thing that you want to bring in, right? So you bring like the healing. For me was the healing. So I have this whole vibe of healing. I feel healed. You have to feel healed, like it's already happened, not like you're hoping it's going to happen. That's very important. But also healing emotionally in other ways, like through EMDR or what have you. You have to become a totally balanced person, body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
That's what will heal you. That's what will make your immune system strong. Everything has to be in balance. You know, the energy centers have to line up. The emotions have to be normal, you know.
Mm-hmm. But
and that's what does it.
Yeah, so you're doing the EMDR stuff that's giving you that emotional healing.
Yes.
You're doing all the different modalities from a medical perspective.
Yes.
So the chemo, the supplements, all that stuff. So that's healing you physically. What's the spiritual part?
The meditation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you're doing the meditations, and then we talked about the outcomes that come from the meditations. But during the meditations, are you doing something specifically about healing?
Yes, that's what I'm bringing back.
Okay.
That's all I think. I go out there, and so when you're out there in the field and he's guiding you, through the meditation, and he tells you to just feel that thing you want. So I've been out there, and the only way I can explain this is like I would feel the feeling of being healed.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what I brought back into my whole system. And then, of course, maintain it as much as possible between meditations. And over time, it stays. It doesn't go away.
You know what I noticed when you were doing the meditations a lot? This is before you had your house built and you were living with your son. But you were...
TMI.
Yeah. I was a very uncool bachelor for a while.
Yeah, and I was a very uncool mom.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to live with their son? I remember we thought it would be, a matter of months, and then COVID hit, and we couldn't get the damn house built. Yeah.
I can't get this fucking house built. I remember when you were doing the meditations all the time, you'd hang the little thing on the door, and you're like, don't bother me, I'm meditating. And but you'd sit in this chair, and it was very weird to me because you had this chair in your room that you would sit on.
Yep.
And we had two of the same chairs. There was another of that chair in the living room or somewhere, and this chair that you were sitting on
is totally
started
trash.
Disintegrating.
Yes.
It was I've never seen a chair do this.
I know.
And
it freaked me out when I first saw it. I'm like, what? What is going on?
You just blew everyone's eardrums, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Why did I do that?
I don't know. Well, it just peaked. Well, try not to yell into the mic.
So for listeners, the chair was pleather, and it just started literally peeling. It's all peeled off.
Yeah.
And that's the chair I meditated on.
It was
for
disintegrating.
2 years. Yeah.
I couldn't. It was disintegrating.
And we know it's the meditation because it didn't happen to the other chair.
Yeah, and people sat on that chair too, so it's not like it was one was being used and the other wasn't.
Yeah.
The people were sitting in the other chair. It's just like it was weird. I was like, so I'm not saying it's correlation at least. I'm not saying
very strong energy.
I'm not saying it's causation, but certainly correlation because there's wow, that is weird that your chair is just like melting.
I know.
Falling apart. It's like so weird.
It was surprising to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. It was very cool because I remember you were struggling with the cancer, and it was like we're not sure, the numbers are high, and you're just kind of in this like roller coaster of a like a back and forth kind of deal. And then you started doing the meditations, and it was like now we start seeing your numbers going down and down and down. It's like that was one aspect. You said the mind, body, and spirit, and like that was one aspect I don't remember that you had incorporated before. Certainly not the meditations, but I don't know that you had incorporated any kind of spiritual aspect to your whole holistic healing for yourself. And you added the meditations, and then all of a sudden this was like your numbers went down. We saw you get into full remission? Is that the word they use, or partial remission?
Yeah, I was in the partial remission.
We see it get into
and then I went into complete remission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a full remission? Is that a thing?
No, that doesn't
it's partial
sound familiar to
or
me.
complete. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking what are the terms they use?
Well, with multiple myeloma, there's remission, partial remission, complete remission. There's even a one beyond that. If you never ever get it again, that's called stringent something remission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so full remission's not a thing then.
No, not to me. I mean, it doesn't sound familiar.
Not to me.
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound familiar. Maybe in some
Yeah.
other cancer or whatever.
No, that's
but
fine.
I've never heard the term.
No, it's good to know. I like make sure I
Yeah.
use the right words for
Yeah.
what things are. But yeah, I saw this transformation where it was just like all of a sudden you're out doing stuff.
Yeah, I
and
know. I'm
you're
whole again.
writing your books and yeah, everything's great.
I'm back to my crazy self. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's been good to see.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, what's next now? I mean, you're doing so. I'm excited to finish the book. What's next? You're doing the coaching. You're gonna be everyone's Sherpa.
Yep, I am.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah, so-
Because you just finished this. That's out on Amazon now.
Yeah, just barely out. It's still in the hands of ARC readers, but you can go to Amazon and buy it, or to my website,
What's an ARC reader?
Advanced Reader Copy.
Oh, okay.
So they're the first people after it's gone. First, it goes through editing, then it goes to beta readers, and they're the readers that sometimes you even send it to beta readers before you do the final edit, because based on them, you might change some things in the book. But so it went through beta reader, then editing, and now it's ARC readers. But it's it's complete. I mean, it's not going to change. It's just people are it's to get reviews and to get a general opinion, like what do people out there really think about it.
Well, how did I get a copy? Because
order. Yeah, it is. It's
bought
for
one.
sale.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It is for sale.
So it's
you
good
can buy it
general
on
public.
Yes, it's open to
Okay.
the general public. I just haven't marketed yet. I'm waiting for the ARC readers to be done and to have some reviews on there. Then I'll
I
start
gotcha.
marketing.
Yeah.
Plus, people who I'm going to make people who enroll in my program read it, just so they know, because it's different. It's not your average coaching. I mean, I talk about THC and CBD and
Yeah.
microdosing and all kinds of woo-woo stuff in there that I've done. Like infrared saunas and taking all kinds of weird supplements and what have you. And that's not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe not everybody can handle it. So I think that if they read my book first, then we'll both know whether they're on board and they're able to get through this program. Because you have to be open-minded.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Like, read my
Yeah.
book, check it out, and then come back to me. And
Yeah.
if you're good after that, then we know that
Then we move forward.
we're in
yeah.
agreement. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. It's a great way to
Yeah.
sell books too.
Well, yeah, in a way, but that's not what I'm doing. It's like I don't want to get into a coaching, like a coach situation with a coachee who's going to be freaked out. The minute I bring up quantum meditation or
Yeah.
that I think they really should, work with an EMDR therapist or anything like that. If they're not willing or they can't comprehend it and don't want to change their mind about it, and they don't have a desire to change their mindset, if they want to stay where they are today, then there's no point. I mean, they're not going to get any benefit out of it.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Because the whole idea behind the whole thing is completely change yourself, change your personality, change your daily habits. You have to become the healed person, and that usually means changing a lot of things about what you're doing now, because whatever it is you're doing now is what got you sick, right? So you have to become this new person.
Yeah. I think there's a misunderstanding in people, like what is cancer and what's causing it. Because if you have a lifetime of eating all organic, plant-based diet, but you've gone through severe trauma and you're dealing with anger and pain and trauma, right? And we can go through a whole list, but you're dealing with a ton of trauma, you can still develop cancer.
Yeah, well, I did, because, I was always the health freak in my family. I wasn't all plant-based, but there was nothing in my kitchen that wasn't organic, grass-fed meats only, wild salmon only.
Yeah.
From the depths of Alaska,
The depths of
So, and I still develop cancer, and it's because of all of the emotional trauma, because that's where it starts. So, like, energy becomes matter. We all know that in time, right?
Mm.
So, one example I can give you. So I had breast cancer twice, right here. Okay. The first time I had breast cancer, they removed the lump, and then I had 25 radiation treatments. But the energy that build that up, because this is where I always felt my anxiety and my anger, or all my stress. I always felt it right here along this line. Okay, so when you cut out, so they cut out the lump, sure, but the energy was still there. So guess what? 20 years later, here it was back. It was a very slow growing thing, right? So it had, even before the first time in 1994, that, it was probably growing for 10 years or more before that. And then they took that away. And I did do some work. I was becoming more enlightened. I was toying around with meditation, even though I didn't do the quantum meditation. I did other meditations for a while. Then I'd stop and do another one. I started to eat much better. That's when I started eating. But at the time, they didn't have pastured meat. But, so I would only eat organic stuff. And my kitchen was pristine, as you know. But I would still eat out, but I still had all this emotional crap going on inside me. So,
yeah,
that's why it's so important to clear that out, because whatever healing you do, it might work for a little while. But if you want to truly heal, so that whatever you have doesn't come back, you just have to address the emotional body. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And you think that's truly what's the cause of things like cancer?
I don't know if it's the cause. It has a lot to do with it. I mean, if you have, if you're eating a very, very poor diet, even if you have a totally healthy emotional body, which I think almost nobody on the planet has unless they've done some work. We all go through trauma. We all have a story. You're highly likely to get something.
Yeah.
Well,
and I kind of made a general statement, and I shouldn't have, because there's obviously people that get cancer from chemicals and things that have nothing to do with their emotions.
Yeah. But the fact that they have an unhealthy emotional body just makes that worse, and it could make it so that they don't heal ever from it.
Yeah, there's I know like the Veterans Department of Veteran Affairs is dealing with a lot of claims about burn pits. So pull up a picture of a burn pit in Iraq. So where's all our trash gone? We're fighting a war in Iraq, and
we burn it,
and
you're breathing it in,
dude. Right there, that second one, man.
Holy crap!
This zoom in that whole thing.
So people
you have to zoom in on the left side. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you see the berms on the far left. They'd be all the we lost it. It opened the link. There it is. Yeah, that's good right there. So it would we'd be standing there and just throwing shit into the pit, and it'd be on fire, and it'd be plastic and metal, and
you're breathing that in. Paul.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just what it would be. And then, and I remember you'd have to do certain duties when you're not like going on missions and stuff. So you have to be on the list to take care of the camp, and you have to do it at least once. So I had to do a burn pit duty, and so they're like, hey, the wind blew a bunch of shit out of the pit, like we need people to go call the pit. And the military, in the Marine Corps, they call it, police calling is just like go pick up garbage and like go. And so we're walking around this burn pit. Keep in mind, there's nothing for 100 miles around us. We're in the middle of the empty fucking desert, and I just came back from God knows how long, like outside the wire. And they're like, Wagner, you're on, burn pit duty. Go with, these two guys and like a couple other lance corporals. And then they had a sergeant over us, like supervise us or whatever, right? And make sure we do it right. And so we're walking around the burn pit, picking up trash, and then throwing it 10 feet to the right into the pit. Keep in mind, we're in the middle of the desert. Like, who fucking cares, right? It was just, I was losing my mind. I couldn't accept how absurd this was, how stupid of a job this was. That
well, you don't want to leave trash in the desert, even if it's in the middle
of nowhere. You got a bulldozer. There's a bulldozer that buries it all. Like, why am I out here, an individual human, picking it up when there's heavy equipment moving all stuff around? Like,
why didn't they do that?
I don't know, exactly. It's just so fucking stupid. It was so annoying. I lost it, and I went to the sergeant and I were good, and I was like, Sergeant, this is so fucking dumb. What are we doing out here picking up trash and moving it 10 feet to the right into this pit? There's nothing out here. We're all by ourselves. There's nobody watching us. Like, what do we do? I was like losing it. He's like, dude, just do it, man. Like we're almost halfway there. Like, let's just get it done, and then you can go back and show. So he was a cool guy. I was a bit stressed out, but
Sounds like
we're
it.
standing around like smelling all this stuff. And so there's a lot of claims that have come out about burn pits, guys getting cancer and lung issues and all that
How
stuff.
do you know that didn't happen? It's not going to happen to you.
I don't know, but I haven't had anything wrong. And so what you're saying though a minute ago kind of struck a chord for me. Is like, well, I've been through the same physical experiences with other people where some have had severe outcomes and I haven't. And why haven't I been sick from that? Why haven't I had a thing? Because we used to burn shitters too.
Yeah.
You take the oil drum and cut it in half and flip the top part over. Now you got 2 toilets, and you
Jeez.
pour in about 5 gallons of JP8 diesel fuel, and then you slide that underneath some wooden structure that you built, and everyone just pisses and shits into this thing.
Gross.
Well, guess what happens when that thing fills up?
You have to burn it.
You slide it out the back, and now you got shit burning detail, and that's a job. And so you put a rag around your face, because the rag is going to save you, and and you light that shit on fire, literally, and you got a stick, and you just stir it, because it's a pile of shit, right? You can't burn the middle of it, so you just
have to stir it?
Yeah, you got to stir it. How are you going to get it all burned up? It doesn't burn up on its own. You got to get the center, because it's all wet, it's all wet in the middle, right? You got to get in there, so you're stirring it up, just making the stew. It's all on fire. There are pictures. Can you find a burning a shitter in Iraq? Just Iraq burns shitter.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, please tell me there's a picture of this. Yes!
Oh, my
yes!
God.
Put it
That's
up!
terrible.
Oh, my God. This is it,
But
man.
he's not, that guy's stirring, is he? Is he
They
stirring?
all got a stick. You got to stir it.
Oh, jeez.
And that's it, man. Look at this guy. He's hosing it down or something. I don't know what he's doing. That's it. God, it's horrendous, man. It's one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. I only had to do it.
I remember you telling me about
I only
it.
had to do it one time, thank God.
Oh.
It took about a half hour or something to burn down a couple of these things. But I mean, you're smelling that too.
Yeah,
burning
that's
diesel with
awful.
human waste. There's no mask. They're not giving you any protective equipment for that. And then some the burn pit and the shitters, and I don't have any lung issues. I'm very happy to say, but a lot of people have had it. There's been massive amounts of claims, with the VA because of it.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't have gotten it. I mean, every person, every body is different. And we don't know. I mean, I believe it starts at the emotional level. You've had some issues after the wars and stuff. I mean, like you say, you've been dealing with anger. So it takes a long time to build up. Like, the anger. I mean, maybe it won't happen now because you've done some work.
Yeah.
But, the energy of that, like that anger you feel and everything, it builds into matter. So like that tumor you got somewhere, it came from that. It came from the energy building up in one spot, because energy, emotions sit in your body like in little packets. Here, there, everywhere. Some people have it here. It might be in your back, your arm, your legs. I mean, it's different for everybody. And maybe for some reason, despite some anger and stuff, I mean, you didn't have it before then. So, and that was how many years ago now? You've been back since 2003. No, I mean, the anger.
Oh.
So you came back from Iraq at the end of 2003.
Yeah.
And now, of course, you've been to another war. So I don't know if we can talk about that, but
yeah, we can talk about it.
Oh, you're back now. Yeah,
I'm back now.
Yeah, you've been to the Ukraine, so which was crazy. But anyway, I don't know. If you do the emotional work, you might never get anything, and then again, you might not. You should just keep getting tested. Like you're doing that with your doctor, which is a good thing. But you might want to take it farther. Like at some point, ask him if you should do like a complete body PET scan just to see if anything started to grow anywhere.
You can do I guess you could do a proactive one, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you'll have to pay for it. I mean, because you're unless your insurance. No, you don't have the insurance, so it won't. Like the way you're set up, you'll have to pay for it.
How much
but
is a
maybe
PET
he
scan?
can do it. For not that much money. I'm sure that when I do it, it costs thousands, but they're billing my insurance.
Is it the same as a CAT scan?
No, it's a PET scan. PET.
PET scan prices.
Yeah, without insurance. Like you want to make sure it's with it because.
Low PET scan prices. Come to the
But with your doctor,
scan
he
store.
can refer you, and you're just going to pay what he's paying, so it shouldn't be too much.
Okay.
Even if it's several $100s, it's worth
13.
it.
That's a big range. 1,200 to 9,200. Jesus.
Yes, because they're putting prices. So if your doctor gives it to you at cost, it's going to be in the low
right.
end. It's whatever they would charge him. But I think it would behoove you to do that based on everything that you've gone through and the emotional stuff you've had.
Yeah.
No,
think about it. Yeah. Next time I have
yeah.
extra $1,300 to go get a PET scan off.
Well, maybe it's not that much. Ask
what is it?
your doctor.
Let's look at this. Positron emission tomography. Positron
Yeah.
emission tomography is a functional imaging technique that uses radioactive substances known as radio tracers to visualize and measure changes in metabolic processes and in other physiological activities, including blood flow, regional chemical composition, and absorption. Can we find a PET scan picture of like what it looks like?
That's what it looks like.
No, well, that's the
I've
machine.
had them, so that's what it looks like when you. Oh, you mean the results?
scan. Yeah, let's see the scan, not the. Look at go down that 4 body one. Zoom in on that. What the hell? That's cool. That's what they're looking at. So you're getting it in like predator vision. You got the different views. You can see it.
Yeah, so you could see there's things there in that body. See the light, the ones that shine, like those shiny spots. That means there's something there.
Oh,
that
like in their
shouldn't be.
lung, or that's not the lungs. That's kind of the kidneys or something.
Well, yeah, I can't tell, but like the one all the way to the right, you see those 2 light spots.
Go to the far right there, dude. Yeah, that white spot.
those things shouldn't be there.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Usually that's how they come
Well,
up.
the brain looks like it's got something too. Then, if that's all white.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's weird. This one looks like he's modeling, like he's got his arms above his head. The red one right there.
I think they
looks
make
like his
you
balls
do
are hanging
that.
out or something.
I've had several of them. When I.
It's like he's like got his arms above his head. He's like, look at my package. It's like, oh my gosh. Well, it looks exactly like an MRI machine.
They don't wrap you up like that. I was never wrapped up
Yeah,
like
that
that. I don't
guy's
know
all
what that photo is.
Tied up.
Yeah.
And how is this different?
But it does
from,
look like that.
Yeah.
That's the machine.
You don't like that?
No, well, you have to sit there. I mean, to do the entire body, it takes about 40 minutes, and you cannot move at all.
Yeah.
So you have to I would take a lot of CBD before just to make sure I don't and I think whatever they give you, because they put they infuse you with some kind of, whatever they were saying, the radio something.
Yeah.
They must put something in there that's anti-itch or whatever, because I never did feel the urge to scratch or anything like that when I've been in it. And that was always my biggest fear. So, well, what if I start, what if something itches,
Mm-hmm.
But what I've done through it, I essentially tried to go into meditation while I was in there.
They put on some cool music for me when I had one. When I
Did
had my hernia, they had some headphones, and they're like, "What do you want to listen to?" And I was like, just told him a bunch of bands, and the guy's like, "I got a playlist for you," and he just put a playlist on, and I had all my
Really?
cool music. I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is great."
Yeah, no, they didn't have music for me.
Yeah.
Where I go, oh well.
Well, if they're scanning your head, I guess you can't.
Yeah, they do. They'd
have a
scan my
headphone
head.
on.
Yeah, they scan my entire body.
Yeah,
from
they were doing my
feet.
abdomen, so.
So
could-
whenever they scan, so they move you up. The more you go, and you can ask for a break. Like, if you want, you can tell them ahead of time. Okay, well, after 20 minutes, let's stop, and then he'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've had another scan too on my leg because of that nerve damage.
Yes, that idiot doctor who sliced you the way she shouldn't have. What's her name again?
I don't want to get into
Why?
that. No, because then you get into defamation.
That was really
or
wrong.
something. I know.
She did do what she did, so.
Yeah, but calling her an idiot is, then that becomes.
She is an idiot.
Well, you can get sued for calling people idiots.
Why?
You just can. I don't know, man.
Can't call her an idiot. She was an idiot. She sliced you open.
It
Now
wasn't
you're in pain
it wasn't
the
the
rest of your
slice.
life.
It was the bifurcator. It
Idiot.
cauterized the nerve in my leg.
She
So-
even knew she did it. She told you as she's doing it. What did she say? Oh, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. because a whole jolt went through my body because it hit the nerve, even though I was numb.
Well, nobody should
whole
go
body.
to her. People should know not to use
Yeah,
her.
I know, but just if you're gonna have any kind of procedure done, even
Don't go to her.
No matter don't go to her. They don't know her name. No matter how minimal, no matter how minuscule it seems, like do your research and check and make sure you have a lot of recommendations for someone that's gonna do anything that cuts you open. Because she was a dermatologist, and I thought it was like a minor nothing deal. I had a BB in my leg when I was 10. I got shot in the leg with a BB gun. It had been in my leg forever. And I was getting some other dermatology stuff done, and like she cut a mole off and a couple other things. And I was like, "Hey, can you do the little BB thing?" And she's like, "Yeah, no problem. It's like real easy because it's above the muscle." So that's in her world. So anything a dermatologist does is above the muscle, like in the epidermis and all that. Pull up a picture if you can. The picture of the dermis versus next to the muscle, something like that. Yeah, there's the layers. So zoom in on any of those dudes. The one to the second one is probably better because you can see. Oh, it doesn't show the muscles underneath though.
No,
Let's see if we can get one with the muscle tissue underneath the. There. Oh, that's layers of human skin. There it is. Yeah, right there in the middle. Layers of human skin. Muscle is the bottom one. Let's zoom in on that. And, uh-oh.
they make it look like the skin is so thick. It's not that thick, you know.
It's pretty thick.
Well, not that thick.
Well, yeah, in relation to what they're... Yeah, I see what
Right.
you're saying. Yeah, so it was in the dermis, I guess. It wasn't in the subcutaneous tissue. It was like in the dermis, below the epidermis. And the BB's just sitting there since I was 10. And not causing any problems, but just there, I can feel it. And it was like a nice freak show thing to show people at parties, like, hey, feel this thing in my leg.
Why'd you have it removed?
Well, I just thought, hey, why not get it removed? It's, no big deal. I could have just left it there and everything would have been fine. But I didn't think it was a big deal. And so then they numb the area, they cut the skin open, they take it out, it's all done. And then they use that hyfricator to cauterize the tissue, the dermis and the epidermis, so that there's no bleeding. Like it stops the bleeding. It's like a lightsaber basically, but like a metal lightsaber thing. And you can't touch any metal while they do it. And I just had my arms at my side, so I'm not touching anything. I'm laying on the bed, and then they go to hyfricate the tissue, but there's in there, and they don't show that in the image, but there's sensory nerves. So you have your nervous system that's like, you have motor nerves that help you move your arm and move, like motor nerves are doing that. Then you have sensory nerves that I can feel that when you touch my arm and all that, right? So the sensory nerves are much closer up to the surface. And so she hyfricated a sensory nerve, and my whole body went like cartoon jolt.
Yes.
Like I went stiff for like a half a second, and I was like, what was that? And she goes, oh, I don't know. And then it's like, you know what the fuck that was, like, and she's like, were you touching anything? I'm like, I'm just laying here, like I'm not, my arms aren't.
She tried to blame it on you.
Yeah, like I did something because it sends like the electrical signal or something. Like my arms are at my side, you're looking at me, I'm face down, so I'm not moving. I can't even move in this position. And then I got this big jolt, and then now, a couple days later, after all the drugs wear off, they're like, yeah, that's weird. You shouldn't be numb still, and come in and check it out. So they came in and checked it out. They took pictures, and I'm like, and then a few days later, I'm like, I still can't feel my foot. I still can't feel my leg. And
Is it still like that?
Oh, yeah. Even like while we're talking right now, it's like it hurts. I'm in pain right now. Yeah, I can't feel anything in that spot. I can feel, but what I'm feeling is just constant pain. It's like, when you're on your leg too long and then your leg falls asleep. So, and then you're like, and just won't wake up.
Have you tried acupuncture?
No, I haven't tried that yet.
I have a feeling that would help.
Maybe.
Because you need to, energy needs to move into there. It's like it's stopped somehow. You need to open the energy channel.
Yeah, I thought about that, but it was burned. The nerve was burned, so there's no channel.
You never know. You never.
Travel.
Try it. It's worth a try. You can't be like that the rest of your life because of her.
No, I'm not bitter about.
She's still
like,
practicing as a dermatologist.
Yeah, leave it alone. I'm not gonna. I
can't believe
I
it.
filed a complaint though, and this is weird because I filed a complaint with the medical board,
Mm-hmm.
and they came back and they said neuropathy, which is the act of feeling nerve pain. They said neuropathy is a normal outcome of this kind of procedure.
Did she tell you that before?
No, the medical board said this.
I know, but
Not
did
her.
she tell you before? She did not advise you about that before she did the procedure?
I don't remember. I mean, that's years
Mm.
ago. I don't remember if she did or not. I'm sure I signed something before you
Oh,
do
of
any
course.
surgery. I'm sure you signed something that says, "Yeah,
In tiny little print that you can't read.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Now when when your leg is numb and it won't wake up, and then you shake it and you feel that initial pain, and then it starts to begin waking up again, and the pain goes away. I'm at that very final stage where the pain is just subsiding, and it's beginning to feel normal again, but that pain never subsides, so it's constantly there. So it's always like a level 1, level 2 pain in my foot,
Oh, Paul.
24/7. But I've just learned to block it out. It's just a normal part of life, I guess. Neuropathy is a normal outcome of these procedures. Didn't you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, well, apparently that's what the Texas Medical
Welcome
Board
to Texas.
of doctors says. Yeah.
I could say a lot about the doctors here, but anyway, that's another conversation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't want to get too distracted on that one.
Yes.
Just talking about nerve pain, but it's definitely like a
Yeah.
thing. My foot just won't wake
Yeah.
up sometimes, or it never wakes up. But sometimes it gets really numb, especially if it's cold out, because everything gets tighter and more closed off. And I'm just like, oh my god! So I'll just have to scratch it just to get some kind of sensory feeling, and I'll just scratch the hell out of the skin just to have some kind of signal get sent through my leg just to wake it up somehow.
Have you tried tapping it?
Yeah, I've tried a bunch of stuff. I mean, I've tried. I have watched videos where they say to scrub it, so get like a really heavy scrubber.
Ooh, doesn't that hurt?
No,
No.
because I can't feel it.
Oh.
I don't actually
Well, don't
feel.
tear the skin.
No, I know. I've never done it to where it's bleeding, but I have like shredded up the tissue a bit just to get something going. And they say like sometimes you can revitalize because the nerves will reroute to another way. But I think the issue is that it's so far down there isn't another nerve to reroute to. It's just like that's one of the last ones down there by the foot.
We should explore what can be done. I think acupuncture might help.
Yeah, we'll look into it. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I know I was asking you earlier, like, what is next? So you got the book. You're doing the medical coaching. What is that
Well,
site?
it's not medical coaching.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. I don't want to mislead
wellness,
anyone.
Yeah,
The
it's
wellness
healing.
coaching.
The name of the website is transformativehealingwellness.com/transform. That's where I want people to go because they get a free, what I call the
What is it?
Get Your Health, Energy, and Your Life Back Jumpstart Guide.
What is the base website though?
No, I don't want them. I send them to that page.
But he's trying to type it.
Transformative
He doesn't know where you want him to go.
Healing Wellness Coach.com/transform.
You got a comma there, yeah. Why can't we just go to the .com?
Because this is where you find what you need. You can't get it, like it's not on the menu. I don't think you spelled it right.
Transformative healing. Let's just go to the root page and just see that we can get there.
No, you don't have wellness spelled correctly. .com/transform.
I thought it was coach.
Oh yeah, coach. Sorry. The word coach belongs.
Transformative healing wellness coach. We got to get you a better URL. All right. Can you let me help you with that, please?
No, see, you need to do /transform. You're not going to find the
Mom,
link.
people are going to have a hard time with this. We got to get a better URL.
No, it's necessary for SEO and stuff. So go down the page.
No one's going to type all that. It's too much.
Well, they're not supposed to type it. I mean, you click on the link. I mean,
But people listening are going to go.
Oh, the
they're going to type
listeners
it.
here, they might.
Yeah, they're going to type it in. We got to make a better URL.
Well, anyway.
All right. This is just your son talking. All right, go ahead.
Yes.
I'll go back to interviewer mode. Yes, transformativehealingwellnesscoach.com/transform. It's like a
Yes.
1997
so
URL.
if you enter your name in that little box, you're going to get the Jumpstart guide, and then there's a lot.
Okay.
It's like about an 8 or 10 page thing, and it talks a lot about all this stuff that I'm talking about now.
Okay, that's cool.
So it's a place to start. It gives you an idea also of what you will get if you ever coach with me.
Why can't they go to the homepage though? That's what
Because
I
that
don't
link
get.
for this is not on the homepage. It's my landing page. It's meant
Okay.
just for people like to go to from ads that I'm going to run
What?
soon.
Oh, I see. This is for.
yeah.
I got.
It's
I
a
got you.
landing page. It's not the main page. So
And you can't link this from your homepage.
no, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
So,
I see. This is for a campaign, like.
yes. But
advertising
that's where
stuff.
you can get. That's the only place on the website where you can enter your name and email address and get the Jumpstart guide.
I got you.
Yeah,
What
the-
happens if they go to the homepage? What is that going to do?
It just gives some information. It's not even really complete yet. I'm just working on it. Over time. So there's a little bit of info, but not a lot. And I'm preparing an online course also for people who can't afford coaching and they still want to address some of this stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's not even video course. It's just PDF essentially.
Yeah.
And I might do it in the EPUB version too, so they can download.
Scroll down. Isn't that the box? That's the same.
No, it's not.
It's a different box. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that we just saw this on the other page.
No,
Okay.
no, that's not it.
All right.
Actually, that's being kind of redone, but.
I got you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the
cool.
works. So, and I'm working on it.
Sorry, I
every
didn't mean
day.
to tease you about it. Everyone
Nah.
listening, I'm teasing my mom a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
so,
I see that.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry. That's a cool. I love that picture of you.
Do you really? It's
Yeah,
not my
it's a
favorite.
cool-
I don't know. I was suggested that I use it there.
It's a
but,
cool picture. You look
Yeah.
like you're ready to go to a nightclub or something.
I do? Oh.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
thought
like
I looked like a Stepford wife.
a Stepford wife. Well, they look like they're ready to go to nightclubs. Like, yeah.
Uh,
Well, cool. So you've got the coaching thing. Who the fuck says we have tomorrow on Amazon? How I Made Cancer My Bitch.
yep, I sure did.
I love that. That's hilarious. You've got some other books coming out, don't you?
Yeah, Cozy Mysteries. Actually, I'm a fiction writer as well. And I'm like 80% of the way through the last book. So that series should be available like at the end of March. And that's a fun project. I'm very drawn to writing memoir for some reason. So that's why I wrote the first one. And then this one, I have another one I'm going to start working on later this year. That seems to be a calling for me. It's like something that's there that I can't avoid doing. And sometimes I think, oh, do I really want to do that again? I really want to write fiction, but it's so strong. It's like I got to get it out.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And the fiction projects are, fun. I just have fun. I love writing them. It's, making up shit all day long. Like when you're writing a book. Oh yeah, well let's say that, my protagonist did this next and what is she going to do after that? And
Yeah.
it's fun because you're essentially, you're the puppeteer of a fictional character's life. You can make her go wherever you want.
That's cool.
So that's fun. In a memoir, you can't do that. You got to tell the truth,
Well, yeah, you're supposed to.
Yeah, if you're ethical, you're going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
So, it's different, but that seems to be something that I must do. I don't know how many more memoirs I'm going to write. I know there's going to be that other one that I told you about, which I'm not ready to talk about yet. But
Okay.
that date, the start date on that's been pushed back to June, I think, because I just had too many things on my plate. We could say we're in pre-development now, just having conversation about
Okay.
how we're going to do it. So, we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And
Do Alex, because I know it involves Alex and I, part of like when we're around, do we get like a right of refusal for any of that?
yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. Like, what is it that you don't want me to talk about,
Yeah.
in it? But essentially, the message in there will be, how we were separated because of a religious cult.
Yeah.
So,
We being you and
and Alex, yeah,
Yeah.
like those 4 years that I didn't see her because of that.
yeah.
So the main focus of it will be that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and of course there'll be backstory in there, and of course you'll probably, I'll be saying things about you in there about that, but we'll talk about it. We don't have to say it if you're not comfortable. There's a few things that happened that I thought would be, I would want to talk about there, because it had a lot to do with, being led, belonging to a cult, and having the cult leader telling you how to live your life,
Yeah.
and how it affected you, like what happened as a result of that. I'm sure you can think of one incident. I don't want to bring it up now in case you're not comfortable with it, but,
Oh, I mean, I'm comfortable talking about that time. I think, but you said you didn't want to bring up the book until.
Oh, I don't
you're
want
not
to
ready
tell the name of the book or
Yeah.
any of that. But basically, that's what it's going to revolve around, is that period of time.
Yeah.
When I didn't see her because of the cult. So.
Yeah.
And she wants to turn it into a series. So.
Alex does?
Yeah.
Oh, a series of books?
No, I mean on like either Netflix or Amazon Prime.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be the next step. We're writing the book first, and then we're actually, as we're writing it, we're going to do it so that it's easily transferable to a series format.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes me maybe a little uncomfortable. I don't know. I guess I was a little kid back then, so it doesn't matter too much. But yeah. I think if anything, it's just like revisiting those feelings and like, it feels weird.
Well, it's going to be part of it, but it's mainly, like I said again, the main focus is that period of time.
Yeah.
When she wasn't, I couldn't see her.
Yeah. Well, that kind of overlaps when I first joined the Marine Corps and stuff. That was actually, I was an adult by then. I was like 21, 22.
Yeah, you. No, because I remember she was still in our lives. When you graduated from boot camp, because she was with me. She came with me to San Diego.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
like
but after that, it happened very soon after that, because I never saw her. Like while you were in Iraq, I didn't see her.
Right.
And for a few years after. It was a 4-year period of time.
It happened when anyway, we won't get into it because I don't want to ruin the story or the book.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole thing to unpack.
Yep, no kidding. We could talk for another 5 hours on that, but we have to go to a party, dude.
I know, we do got to get ready. Yeah, it's after 5, so we gotta get going for this. Well, I'm glad to have you on. This is cool.
Thank you.
I'm loving the book so far. I'm laughing. It's weird because we're talking about some serious like cancer stuff, but you have your back broken in the hospital, but I'm laughing. So
I know. But I did try to. I want to put humor in it because it's such a heavy subject. But does it have to be? I mean, that's the mindset thing, Yeah, this shit is happening, but you can. It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite there yet. I mean, as you can see, the beginning, I'm really, but there were so many funny moments, like when I was trying to stand up and sit in a wheelchair the first time, and I just couldn't do it. And then, I had so much fun doing that. Like when I spent like 3-4 days, like over a weekend, I spent 3-4 days just visualizing the hell out of that scenario,
Is that guy's name really Chris? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was.
So whoever Chris is, if we can find him and get him to listen to this, like, thank you. You helped my mom learn to walk again after she broke her back.
Yeah.
Mega thanks.
That was so weird to me that all I'd done was lay in bed for 8 weeks and my body had forgotten how to walk and sit.
It's crazy.
It was freakish to realize that. It just wouldn't happen. Like nothing was moving. It was so weird that, you would, I thought that, it would be, if you did that for months or whatever, maybe, but after just 8 weeks, I mean, then the guys told me, I'm pretty sure he said, even if you lied in bed for 3-4 days, you would feel a modicum of what you're experiencing now.
Wow.
It's like our bodies forget really quickly. I guess that's why you got to work out all the time. It forgets what you did, 3 days ago.
It does, yeah. Diminishing returns.
Yeah, so.
Well, everybody check out transformativehealingwellnesscoach.com/transform. Go to Amazon. Who the fuck says we have tomorrow? How I Made Cancer My Bitch by Maryse Laflamme. Any social media stuff?
I don't do much on social media. You can find me on social media under Maryse Laflamme Writer, but
Okay.
I really don't do a lot. It's not going to be a big part of my marketing campaign or getting people in to that. But you can also go to my writer website, which is my name, MaryseLaflamme.com, and then you can get the books from there.
Oh,
too.
MaryseLaflamme.com. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a much.
Yeah, you can
a
get
very easy URL.
Yeah, but it's not going to link to my coaching website at all.
Sure.
So,
Okay. All right.
just
Cool.
saying. So, well, thank you.
Thank you
This
for
was really
coming.
fun,
It was
actually.
fun.
More fun than I thought it would be. I was a bit stressed out. I'm like, oh my God, it's so official on a
know.
podcast with my son.
You did seem stressed out. I was like, we're just gonna have
I know.
fun.
I had all these notes. We didn't even go over them.
Well, that's it. It's 3 hours, burns by fast, and
I know it really does. That's right. Well, thank you for listening. If you've listened to the end,
Yes. All right. Thanks.
and take care of yourself.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.